As veterans, we struggle to fit in. Taught to never let feelings win. Lost in a world full of fear and pain. We all have hung our heads in shame. When we look up, we see hands reaching out. There is so much support about. It comes from above and others around. Please take a hand and rise from the ground. Stand up and fight for your life. Walk away from negativity. Don't give in to strife. Show up for yourself. Find your voice. Keep moving forward. You have a choice. Give compassion for the child inside. Healing pain, let hope reside. Lost you will no longer be. Then you can help set others free. Now speak up and with us share the tools that make pain easy to bear. Advocate for others to lighten their load. Use your voice and join our show. On Coffee Talk with Brian and Marie, we heal out loud, PTSD to advocacy.
And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining us on another episode of Coffee Talk with Brian and Marie. But guess what? Today's a little bit different than normal. We are actually live. You are watching this right now. We're actually live. If you're listening to it, you missed us. But we're going to try to do this a little bit more regularly, maybe once a month, every other, week or so. But I think trying to get involved with our people out there that listen and stuff, it would be amazing to get you guys involved and bring you onto the show and have a little more interaction. How are we doing today, Marie?
Hey, sorry, a little bit of a lag there. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. This last week was a little bit rough. As some of you guys know, my dad passed away a year ago on Thursday. And so that was kind of rough, reminiscing, but we had a really awesome family get together for the 4th. And we had this amazing nonprofit organization called For the Fallen here in Utah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going to talk about this.
Yeah, so they came to my family celebration, and I had my mom, when she came to visit me, bring my dad's flag from his funeral. And the For the Fallen actually donated a flag case, a specialized flag case for my dad with a plaque that has his name and his rank and his service dates. And it's this specialty case that is designed to protect from all the elements, UV, bugs, any moisture, anything like that. And it was so beautiful. They presented it to my mom in front of the family, and it was so amazing. So a little bit of bittersweetness, sadness, remembering, my dad, but also joy in, celebrating his life.
Yeah. And what an amazing way to have, your mom come visit. And I mean, this is probably, so sentimental to her. And you did say she started to struggle with dementia and things like that. So when I watched the video of it, it was very touching, and I'm glad that you got to do something so special for you and for your mom. That was amazing. So how awesome, and what a great organization for doing that.
Yeah.
Say who they are one more time.
So it's For the Fallen. So I believe it's forthefallen.org. And he's just a local guy. Him and his wife started the company, and they have a couple other board members. I just got him connected with another veteran that we've had on the show that Daniel Conley, who does Tilted Knot woodworking, and they're going to be partnering up to make more of the cases. So if you're local here in Utah, they have multiple cases already made, and they are looking to present them to families, and it's for anybody who got a flag at their person's funeral. So first responders, active duty, or veterans. So if you are looking for a case for your flag, you can contact me or forthefallen.org.
Wow, that's outstanding. And we just want to welcome everybody in. You guys, we are live. So if you guys are watching us, feel free to comment, say hello. We'll have your comments on display. And we really want you guys to interact with us and our guest. But before we do, we're going to do what we normally do on the show. We're going to have Marie kick it off with one of her amazing poems, and then we'll have her introduce our next guest. And he is a guest that we've had on before, and this show right here is going to be for everybody. So it's, you don't have to be a veteran to watch this or a first responder. This show will be for everybody, and it definitely going to apply to your life and survival. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Marie, and then we'll go from there. Let me get rid of this, and I'll disappear.
Awesome. Thank you. So the poem that I'm going to do today is, if you are just joining us and have never seen our show before, thank you so much for coming. We're excited that you're here. And a whole thing about this show is healing out loud, PTSD to advocacy. So we encourage people to find their voice, whatever means it is, whether it's talking on the podcast with us, or if it is utilizing creativity. Part of my healing out loud has been through poetry. And so as a tradition, what we've been doing is I share one of the poems that I wrote to help me heal from trauma and addictions and share my own journey with you guys. So this is called A New Start. Gratitude is something I try to live each day. It's more than just a thank you while passing on my way. It's a lifestyle I have learned that helps me overcome the struggles I am going through and the battles I have won. It's a pathway to a freedom money can't attain, where fear of loss and heartbreak no longer can remain. Many things have happened in my crazy life. The pain from some of them still cut me like a knife. Though I know that these memories still make me sad some days, I know the pain is fading into a blurry haze. I have hope in my heart and faith in my spirit, for now I can help others as they go through it. There are many God dots I'm seeing each day, and I'm learning to connect them no matter where they lay. I cannot change my past or predict the future. I only have today for healing to occur. Many opportunities for choices I can make are laying right in front of me. My faith I won't forsake. Joy fills my being when after a rough day, I have not gone backwards and the old me is at bay. The journey is exciting when lessons I have learned and the bridges get rebuilt that in my past I burned. I now have a chance at slowly, finally living the life that I've been dreaming of, the chances God keeps giving. I know I'll make mistakes and sometimes I'll be selfish, some fires I will start that I cannot extinguish. I have hope with help from others and a loving Father that I can make amends and become a better author. The story I want told when I leave this earth is I did my best to show others they have worth. I'm grateful in my heart each night I go to bed, for I'm living a new life, not knowing what's ahead. And each day that I wonder if I'm all alone, I now have a foundation, not made with sand, but with stone.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for another amazing poem. And once again, guys, we are live. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. This is going to be a podcast show for everybody. I know a lot of times that we kind of really focus a lot on the healing portion and, veterans, first responders, family members, advocates, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a little bit different. We've had Stephen Page on. You got to hear his extensive story. So Marie's going to give him a introduction, and then we'll have him come on and let him share his what he's doing.
Awesome. Yes. So we have Stephen Page here, and he is going to be doing an emergency preparedness class today. And so Stephen Page is instructor, consultant. He owns Venom Tactical Techniques Training and Consulting, or sometimes called VT3C. And they bring a powerful blend of real world military experience and operational security. An operational security background into his company. He specializes in equipping individuals, communities, and organizations with critical skills needed to navigate high stakes environments. He is an emergency preparedness fundamentals instructor and committed to resilience and proactive safety. His tactical expertise is backed by strong academic credentials. He has a degree in Counter-Terrorism Studies with a minor in Homeland Security and Emergency Management from American Military University. He also recently earned his credentials as a Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, Community Emergency Response Team CERT instructor. And through his company, he bridges the gap between the elite strategic preparation and practical everyday readiness. So, Stephen, come on up and talk to us about, what the class is going to be, and then it'll be in your court. Thanks for coming again.
Welcome,
Thanks,
brother.
guys. Thanks for having me back. Well, you guys can see I'm in my element. I'm outdoors right now. I wanted to kind of give that kind of element because a lot of this is being outdoors, being outside. So, and being in the elements. So, especially when it comes to emergency preparedness. But yeah, since the last time you guys had me on here, as you stated, Marie, I've earned another credential, another instructor credential, went through FEMA this time so that I can give more to my community, because I want to give more to my community. I feel like as a veteran, I don't want to stop serving. It's kind of, it's bred into us. I would even say it's bred into us. It's more beaten into us. And from day one of basic training or boot for our Marines and other service members out there. But it's just how it is. So, but yeah, we've done great here with my company, VT3C. We're constantly expanding. We're growing. It's getting really busy. Tonight I got Mercy management meetings that I'm an advisor to for committees. I've got another one tomorrow night. I'm actually doing a security assessment out at another city, because they want me to come out and do a security assessment and what we call hazard vulnerability assessment. So it's great, and I love that I'm being able to take my passion and give it to the people. So that's what I'm really excited about today with this class, that I'm gonna be able to give you guys certain stuff that the everyday citizen can have.
That's outstanding, bro. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to being prepared, and I think a lot of us aren't prepared, right? We just get very complacent. We, and that's just because we have been blessed to be in a place that offers us security and stuff like that. But something that we're not secure from is natural disasters and things of that nature that can happen, where we can lose power grid to fire or to a major earthquake or something to that effect. So I think a lot of us, we just go through our day to day, and we're not ready for that what if type stuff.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the thing is like, when it comes down to natural disasters or even technological disasters, where it's, the power grid goes out because of a storm, or because something happens and there's a Cascadia fail, or like it's happened a couple times, our cell phones go down or a satellite connection goes out. That kind of stuff we're not prepared. A lot of people aren't prepared for, and they don't think that ahead. And then there's also the human aspect, the human train aspect, that we got to kind of think about when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that we have that, there's people that are the doomsday preppers who are like ready for the next like zombie apocalypse, and then you got people that are, like I said, just, barely got some, canned food in their cupboards, and don't have any bottled water. Yeah, so,
that's us.
we've got both into the spectrum, and I'm probably somewhere in the middle, because I do think a lot about that stuff, and I do try to prepare, but I feel that I probably am still not prepared enough, right? Because, there's got to be a certain amount of food rations and things like that. And the larger the family you have, the more of the rations you got to obviously have as well, right? I mean, there's just a lot of things that go into that whole that thinking of survival. But like a lot of us, like I said, we're so complacent in our day to day, and it's not going to happen to us. It's not going to happen to me type mentality. So we just go through, I think a lot of us just completely complacent.
I am one of those complacent people because in my brain, and maybe this is really unhealthy, in my brain, I'm like, oh, if there's some sort of emergency, I'm just gonna hop around to different places and I'll see what I could do to help people and then they'll help me. But realistically, it might get to a point where it's like, yeah, no, you have to survive on your own. You have to get set up. And like my husband, he's got some things prepared, before I moved in. He is definitely a lot more mentally ready for this stuff. And so we've got like our food, a little bit of food storage, and he's got a few other supplies. My brain just doesn't go that way. So I'm excited to hear, what you have to say. And hopefully I can start incorporating some of that mentality, because I really am a flitty mentality. Oh, I'll just take it as it comes. But in reality, there needs to be a little bit of preparation. So I'm excited for this class.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, and sorry for a little bit of the background noise. We have a train track right next to the range I'm at right now. So, but what you guys both alluded to, which is one of the big things that we're going to talk about, is really coming down to the mentality, what we call the psychology or disaster psychology. We actually study that a lot, both in Homeland Security. We study that in emergency management, and we study in CERT, in community emergency response team, is disaster psychology, because like a lot of people don't realize that, yeah, there is the physical aspect of a disaster happening. And when I say disaster, that could be, like what you talked about, Brian, like where you live. I mean, you guys just recently had an earthquake in California. And I mean, so we have earthquakes, but then there's, like I said,
tsunamis too, bro. I mean, we're by the ocean over here. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not that they're not that often, but it's something that can definitely happen. I live a lot closer to the coastline now. And, when you say earthquake, if there's a coastal earthquake, that can create a tsunami, right? And then that can create a slew of problems that no one ever accounts for as well.
And then you've got over here in Utah, where last I checked, we have about 22 fires going on. So
yeah. Well, that's California too. We got fires, we got floods. What you need.
Yeah, pick your natural disaster, and then there's and we'll talk about it more, but there's the natural disaster, there's the physical aspect, whether it's man-made, technological, or natural, and then there's the emotional and the psychological toll. Seeing people that are injured, seeing people that have passed away. We've seen it with, like, for instance, like with Hurricane Katrina. We saw it firsthand live on our screens on TV of people being drugged through the streets because they had nowhere to put the people that had passed away, the dead bodies. So it's kind of one of those things where there is a deep psychology that we have to look at. So that's part of our security, is we need to prepare our minds. Besides the physical aspect, we need to prepare our minds and our emotions and secure those to protect them, so that we're better prepared, so that it's not it's not as a hard of a punch in the face, as I like to say, versus it's more of a tap, a forehead tap with a finger or flick, versus a squared up, getting punched by a heavyweight boxer. Because that kind of in your face kind of stuff, it does happen, and a lot of people do get overwhelmed with it. So, but the biggest things, but I know, Marie, you alluded that you wanted to talk about how we can apply the security aspect, because that is my background, is security, and how I can bring that into the point of emergency preparedness.
Yes, because that was a thought that I was having as well. And I can't remember if we actually talked about it, but that idea on natural disasters or political decline or whatnot, there is a lot of that safety element. You know, you've got the emotions, which you were saying, but there's also that safety element. Like, how do you keep yourself safe in these kind of environments? You know, what do you need to do to prepare yourself to, like, hey, there probably will be people trying to take your food. There probably will be people that intend harm. There's probably people who want to take your safety and your location. You know, so I wanted to kind of talk about that, but then just anything else that you wanted to throw in there as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So there's so what you're talking about is 100% correct. In natural disasters, in, like you said, in human man-made disasters, like you said, political decline, civil unrest, we have, you know, we always go back to, in emergency management, we always say, and in Homeland Security, they say there's the four layers, or the four pillars of society, and that's power, transportation, it's your food and water, and then a lot of people don't realize is your communications. If any of those break down, the other ones will break down, and everything else connected to that. With our survival pillars, we actually have 6 survival pillars, or 6 survival foundations, and I also look at it as the cube of survival. It's, you know, you have your, you know, your typical, if you look at it, you have your typical 4 sides, but then if you go 3-dimensional, you have your 2 other sides. So it's, I say it's your cube of survival, and your cube of survival kind of, it's similar stuff. It consists of your food and water, your medical, your health and hygiene, which is a lot different. Medical is like, oh, I'm hurt. Your health and hygiene, that's more of like your medications, and you're staying clean, and you're, you know, you're trying to keep infections away and stuff like that. Then we also have our communications. We have shelter, like you talked about, taking your location. And then our last thing we have is security and safety. And those are the 6 things that people need to look at, of how, like, in order for them or their family or their community to survive, those 6 areas need to be the base model that everybody needs to start with, of I need to do that. But in order to have communications security or safety, to have food and water safety, you have to have physical, actual security. So the first thing I always teach people when it comes down to any security is you got to have situational awareness. You have to have awareness of the situations, whether it is your immediate situational awareness, whether it's like a personal situational awareness, like people don't realize this, like everybody knows this, like when we get scared, we usually, technically there's 4 responses, but there's 3 main. What does everybody think of? Oh, when we get scared, what do? Fight or flight.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And most veterans, I would say like 90% of us are fighters. We don't fight. We don't try to retreat. We want to stop the threat. And so there's another one we call freeze. You know, people get so overwhelmed, they just don't know what to do. They freeze, and they oh, what do I do? So that's your personal situational awareness. It's part of your emotional response. But then you have your tactical or immediate situational awareness, which is your immediate area, like what you guys have alluded to, you're like what you said, Brian. You already have your situational awareness where you're like, oh, I'm on the coast, so earthquakes. Second thing is tsunamis. So, and then we get wildfires. Oh, we get floods. Oh, we get, you name it, we have it, kind of thing. And I kind of get like the feeling we're kind of in that same situation, even here in Utah, Marie, I'm in southern Idaho, but we're like right next to each other. And it's like, oh, fires, floods, earthquakes. Shoot, we got volcano. We got to worry about volcanoes with, we got the, Mount St. Helens. We got all that stuff. It's just like, you name it. So that's kind of the thing is we got to understand what do we got to deal with. So the first thing is you got to have situational awareness. And when you're doing situational awareness, we also have to look at what we call the domino effect. So, Brian, you brought up a great point. Oh, coastal earthquake, that's your first domino, what we call your first order. Your second order effect is, oh, we could have a tsunami. So what do you guys think could be a third order effect after? And this could be after the tsunami or after the earthquake.
Fires, because the tsunami gets into all of the electrical stuff, and that'll start fires.
Exactly.
And beyond that, actually, after that, some point in time, you're also dealing with an element of chaos, because now everybody is
Yep.
trying to flee, trying to leave. Now your streets are congested. You
get the
know,
looters.
and people aren't getting out of their homes.
Yep.
And then you got the
We're right
ones that
there.
do stay behind, and that are, vultures just stripping and taking what they got. We've seen it happen. We had a major fire here in LA, and after that they ended up having to set up cops and everything up there to stop people from going in and stealing while it's literally on fire. People are risking their life because it's in a rich neighborhood. So I mean, these type of things happen, and it's wild, because it not only do our resources have to try to stop the fire that's going down, but our resources are also preventing from looting and other people doing other stinking chaotic things, like when they're leaving and bottlenecking everywhere, and everybody's just panicking. There's no evacuation plan. A lot of these cul-de-sacs, homes, and places like that, they'll be stuck. As soon as something pops off, the ones that are closest to that exit are the first ones out. Everybody else, it's like, God forbid if your house is on fire or something.
And in California, you're also here's a little. You're also going to have the protesters that are fighting the first responders trying to do their job.
Right? I mean, no, 100%. That's really, that's a fact. It's not, that's not really far-fetched from the truth. It does happen, and it's unfortunate. And those are all things that, like I said, once the chaos begins, you're not ready, because you never thought about A through Z. You know what I mean? Now you're literally at this moment and trying to deal with A through Z while fucking everything's happening.
Well, and then you have another language alphabet that's coming up too, because you got all sorts of other stuff that you don't even think about. That's not even in our peripheral at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You think that Tom's all of a sudden going to come over here and gank you because he wants some food? You know what I mean? You've been friends with Tom for years. Your next door neighbor, and then when shit hits the fan, here comes Tom. He needs some food, and he's over here, got a gank, bam, and just jabs you, and because you're just all like, "Hey, what's up, man? Things ain't normal no more," But we just kind of said, like, we don't really think about weird things like that. I mean, my mind's kind of weird. And I do kind of think, I mean, like as soon as I start talking to you, it's like, whoa, I'll start thinking about all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing is people have to look at the domino effect now. And you guys brought up a good point, like with your neighbors, like and this is all about not only preparing yourself, but preparing your community. Because if you can tell your neighbor, hey, you need to be prepared, so you're not 3 meals away from chaos. You only have, like Marie was alluding to earlier about saying, well, I only had enough storage for, a little bit in my pantry. That's what we say is you got about 3. We say about 3 meals. You got 3 meals until you're at chaos. And now there'll be usually 2 people that are in that chaos area, and people need to know this with their situation awareness, is you have your vultures, your what we call your wolves, your predators out there that they don't care. They're already, like, literally law and order is that boundary for them, that once it's gone, or that veil of illusion is gone, they're going to run rampant. We saw it in during Hurricane Katrina, recently, with the hurricanes that happened back east in North Carolina. I knew guys that were out there volunteering, and they were having issues with people looting, and it wasn't. And when when they brought up to the cops and the law enforcement, they were like, "Oh yeah, they're troublemakers." Like one was like oh, your flag fell down, Brian.
It sure did, bro. Well, it's down.
So they were like, "Oh yeah, these guys. He's a notorious burglar. He just constantly he gets in trouble for stealing and burglary." And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, though that's one side. The other side is the everyday person who's not prepared, and they're just freaking out because one, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're scared, or, and this is a big thing for those people that have kids, the parents are freaking out because they want to make sure their kids are safe, their kids are being fed, and so they're willing to do unspeakable things to take care of their family. So we have to kind of look at both of those, those people. So that's kind of that whole thing with situational awareness. So, and just kind of conditioning yourself with that. So do you guys have any questions right now before I go on to the next section?
No, well, I guess kind of, I mean, you're probably going to end up getting to this, but I think that there's a level of like, all right, where would you consider someone being somewhat prepared, right? Like, how many days of rations should we think per person, and obviously there's got to be a level of understanding that there's an age cutoff where this at some age you got to step up, and you're going to have to, your job is going to be different than what normal day of life. Like when you're 14 or something, I cannot be wiping your butt anymore at 14 or anything like that. I think that's why a lot of times, with our kids, I feel like some of us coddle them too long. I think there's a level that they need to learn how to survive and stuff like that. Because when shit does hit the fan, everybody is going to become valuable. And in part of it, it's instead of it being more of the family, it's going to be a team, and you guys are going to have to work, and someone's going to get the food. Someone's going to have to provide security while you go get the food, because while you're gone, someone might come and try to poach your stuff. Like, at what level do you consider yourself kind of prepared with the food, with, ammunition, weapons, water, those kind of things? What is the, like the quota for, like, how many days or whatever should you be prepared for?
Different organizations, kind of like between the American Red Cross, FEMA, CERT, they all have different numbers. But generally the baseline that everybody says, and you probably heard it, is a 72-hour bag, a 3-day bag, is you need to have that. I don't believe in 72-hour bags. I believe in 72-hour bags as if, let's say, Marie, you're on a trip, you should have a 72-hour bag with you that is completely separate for you to get able to take. So do you have at least enough supplies to get you to your home within 3 days? And that's with walking.
I don't even feel like we would get support from any kind of organization within 3 days. You know what I mean? 72 hours ain't shit. And
No.
Especially when and especially if you're not rationing out or anything like that during that time, because when that 72-hour goes over and then there's no help, what the next level is, you got to become the predator, right? Now
Yes.
You also got to go start poaching and looking for that next level, because 3 days is almost kind of like it gets you by. You know what I mean? That's not going to survive, right?
It's a blink. You literally blink, it's gone.
If 72 hours is not enough, what would your suggestion be then?
It's 3 weeks.
Okay.
So the reason being is for a couple of things. So this is directly from not only FEMA, but also Marie, for you, because you live in Utah. So when I went through my FEMA training, I actually went through the Office of Emergency Management of Utah, and
Awesome.
The Utah Office of Emergency Management is top tier. They're really well. Honestly, the only one I would say they are second to would be California, just because California has a phenomenal emergency management program and office, just because of everything they deal with, but also of how many times, LA has hosted the Olympics or World Series and stuff like that. They have to have really good emergency management for those. And we
are a coastal state. It's just a thing where we are also, we could be attacked. You know what I mean? Anybody on the coast can be easily attacked from a ship or anything like that, where inland, It's a lot less. So there's a lot more, I imagine, for any coastal state to have more of like another level of some kind of security.
Well, yeah, and then in Utah we have, prominent culture, which I'm a part of. The LDS culture is to prepare, 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 and so that's all over here in Utah. So that doesn't surprise me that Utah is one of the leading ones, and California is second. Because you've got just so many people who are focused on that security and making sure that they are prepared, food storage, water storage, all that kind of stuff. So I
Yeah.
like that.
So they told us when we were in school, they told us whether it's an earthquake, fire, any of that stuff, by the time resources get not only to the situation to deal with the situation, but the aftermath, what we call the recovery process, they say that is usually minimum 3 weeks. And we even saw it with the hurricanes over in like Asheville, North Carolina. It took almost 3 months. And so it's that way. And recently, in one of the committee meetings I advise over, we actually had representatives from both the county and the state I live in that they both said, like, yeah, you're so far down on the totem pole because you are living. So if people are listening, if you live in a super rural environment or you live in an outskirt town off of a major town, realize you guys are going to be second to the bottom of the totem pole or close to the bottom of the pole, because all resources are going to go to major cities, major population zones where they can do that. Because that is one of the mottos for FEMA is putting the right people, the right resources in the right place to do the most good.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it does, but then you get like people like me. I live out in the country and I live in a town with like 500 people. And the biggest town to us is 5,000 people. So it's 10 times the size. And I go, oh, wow, that's not good. My resources are going to go there and not to me and my community. So that's why I'm all about trying to get communities involved. So when it comes to it, we have to look at like you were talking about, Brian, that cutoff minimum. I say at the home, 3 weeks minimum of supplies, 3 weeks, and start working your way up into 3 months. But start with the 3 weeks. And then the 3-day bags, those need to be in people's cars, not and what it is it's they're bug out bags, but it's so they can get to their home or get to a safe place where they know they have resources that they can get access to. But people should try to, so instead of I'm going to have 3 days worth of supplies, it's no, I'm going to have 3 days of supplies to get me to my 3 weeks or 3 months worth of supplies.
So I have a question for you based on this. Okay. Where would you suggest somebody go online? So if anybody's just listening to this, where would you suggest they go online to get an idea for the 3 day, 3 week, and 3 month like supply kits type thing? Or where can they go to know what to have in their supply? Do they go to your website? Is there a FEMA website? Is there something? Where would you suggest they go to get the idea on the 3 week or 3 day, 3 week, 3 month? Yeah.
So that is a great question. I get this asked all the time. Well, where do I find this resources? So my company, we do offer some of these resources with on our consulting side. So you can definitely go there. That's venomtacticaltrain.com. But also the number one I would say people need to go to is what's called ready.gov.
Okay.
Ready.gov is probably the number one. I use it. I still use it. And I'm an emergency management consultant, and I still go there and I'm like, hey, oh wow, this has been updated. And usually that's a mixture of FEMA stuff, but it's actually run by the Unified Fire Authority. It's co-hosted by the Unified Fire Authority out of Salt Lake City, Utah. They have an amazing program down there. Like I said, Salt Lake and Utah, they kind of got their stuff together down there, and I know why they have, and I found out the history, and it's amazing, their history. But that's where I would go, and you can look it up. Now, And if people have questions about, if they go on there and they're like, well, they have questions about, they can feel free to reach out to me using the chat here with the comments, and please feel free to chat and I'll respond to you guys. You guys can reach out to me at my website, like I said, at venomtacticaltraining.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, and you can send me a message there, which it's like Marie said, my Facebook page is Venom Tactical Techniques Training and Consulting. So if
like,
people have questions, they can always ask.
So like California has, I think it's like 36 point something million people or something to that effect. There's a lot of people in California. And, you know, that being said, I think that a lot of people got to be very cognizant that there's so many people that you really do got to have a level of taking care of yourself. Because there's just, it is humanly impossible for them to get to every single body, you know.
Yes.
So if you want to, you know, make sure that you and your family are going to be safe, you know, and you're not sitting there stressing out about, you know, making, you know, the next meal, you know, there's a level of preparedness that we all got to start thinking about. Especially, you know, there's a lot of talk right now about the San Andreas fault, you know, wanting to pop off, you know, and that's the hugest fault line, I think, that we have in the US. So, or one of them at least. So, there's several different fault lines that haven't erupted, I guess, in a while here in California. And so, you just never know, man. And I remember as a kid, you know, there used to be a lot more drills, I felt like, about earthquakes, fire drills, things like that. I don't hear my kids talking about that kind of stuff very much. Not saying that they don't do it, but we used to have the stop, drop, and roll type of things, getting under your desk, putting, you know, with your hands over your head, things of that nature. But, you know, I think that everybody's all good until they're not, right? We're always, it's all good until it happens, you know, and I think that's where it is we are too much of a reactant type of, you know, culture. We always like to react to things after the fact instead of being prepared, you know, because a lot of people probably watching this are letting it go through in your you know, shit ain't gonna ever happen here in good old, you know, Creek, Idaho, whatever, you know, wherever you live, you know. It's just, but, you know, I think that a lot of people need to start being aware, just, you know, and do it. I'm not saying go be out, you know, crazy, but there is a level of preparedness that you do need to have: food, water. And another thing, bro, what about communication, right? Like once the cell phones go down now, and I do know that there are like walkie-talkie type things that can reach very far distances that you don't need like a Wi-Fi connection or anything of that sort, or, you know, they act off of satellites. What kind of things can people do for the communication side? Because that's a key thing, and I think a lot of people don't think about. Like we're so reliant on our cell phones for everything that as soon as that bad boy shuts down, what the fuck does people do?
Well, so you brought up a good point. So communications is one of those pillars, and we have to look at two things with communications. We have to look at communications as the physical thing, and then also communication security, what we call ComSec. And so with communications, actually recently, I think it was like last year or the year before, Verizon had like I used Verizon, and Verizon went down throughout the whole country. It was like over like 500,000 or over 1 million people didn't have cell service. I have a communications plan already set up. So I immediately was like, oh, my communications aren't working. And I immediately was like, I started reaching out using my other means to the people in my network. And I was like, hey, if you guys need to get a hold of me, this is how you get a hold of me. And so yes, with satellites and everything, it's kind of that way, but people don't realize, like, we are in one of the most solarly active years we've ever had. Like, Marie and me have probably seen, I don't know about you, Marie, but I've been seeing the I just saw the Aurora Borealis again, and I'm in southern Idaho, in northern Utah. Like, I'm literally 5 minutes from the border of Utah, and I saw the Aurora Borealis. What was that? Monday night?
I heard about it, but I have not seen it. but I have heard about it. And I've also seen that our temperatures are like raising, like this weekend, we're getting into the hundreds, and that is not going to be fun. But I
No.
know that that's thing. But now I'm going to have to look out for the aurora. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the aurora borealis, that's obviously it's a solar storm. It is a solar flare hitting us. Well, even though our satellites are built for that, if we get hit with enough of it, it will break down their solar shielding, and then those satellites go away, and then we don't have satellite communications. So we want to look at, and even with solar, like a solar incident or an EMP or EMF, and that sort of stuff, our radios do get interfered with, like our handheld walkie-talkie radios. So we got to look at multiple different things, and so when it comes down to like whether it's security, whether it's food, whether it's water, whether it is medical, we always want to look at a certain acronym that we used in the military. We still use it to this day. That's called PACE. PACE. I don't know if you guys have you guys
remind
ever
us
heard
what that is. It sounds familiar, but remind us what it is and explain it a little bit.
So a PACE plan stands for primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. So this is a way you can plan. You can plan if you think, and people don't realize this. We do this naturally in our everyday lives. Like if you think about it, like Brian, I know you live in a very, very congested place down in good old San Diego. If you hear that a road shut down, right? You find an alternate route to go around.
Yeah.
Oh, did we lose Brian?
We're having some technical difficulties right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we have PACE plan, and it's a great thing to have in there. Is that so? It's just a way to say, hey, this is my like for our cell phone, that is our primary that is like our primary thing with. Sorry, I just saw a comment and I didn't know who it was. I just want to make sure we don't ignore people. So like our primary would be like our cell phone.
We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So if you're watching, Brian will be right back, and we just have a couple things going on. So sorry about that, Stephen. I know it's a little bit distracting, but continue on. Yeah.
Okay. It's all good. So yeah, so like our primary means of communication this day and age is our cell phone. An alternate mean can be like, and even with our cell phone, we can look at our cell phone and say, okay, I can call you. That's my primary way of like calling Marie. My alternate way of getting in touch with Marie with my cell phone would be texting. And that could be like a direct line text. My contingency would be I can use Facebook Messenger. And then my emergency would be, hey, Marie, let's go meet up at Cash Coffee, kind of stuff and talk, and that's how you can PACE plan it. But you should also look at equipment wise. So walkie-talkies are great. Radios are great. Obviously, if you do get a radio, make sure you follow the rules, with the FCC.
Can I actually am having an experience with this. My husband's on a trip right now, and he is utilizing ham radio while he's out in the mountains. And
Okay.
can you kind of, since we're on this topic, it's been interesting to learn a little bit more about it, but can you kind of explain the benefits of ham radio and the training required in something like that? Because I know that like I can watch him online, but I can't utilize some of the specific things because I'm not trained on it. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that and what the benefit would be about getting either a ham radio or if there's another communication system that you would suggest?
Yeah, so ham radio is it's a very extensive and time consuming thing because you do have to study and you have to take a test. But once you get it and you have it, there's different levels of ham radio. So it's just like it's kind of like having a driver's license versus having like a CDL, and then even having a CDL, having like your hazmat endorsement, stuff like that. So there's different levels to it. I don't have my ham radio. The reason why is and I will tell you people this, when there is an emergency, and it does not have to be natural disaster, the sky is falling, Chicken Little's running around screaming his head off. It can be you are trapped, you are stuck, you are like you said, your husband's out, out in the mountains. If somebody's out hunting and gets hurt, you can, if it is your own personal emergency, you can get onto ham radio frequencies of repeaters in your local area, and you can call for help. And most of those repeaters are either used by a lot of guys and a lot of individuals who monitor it. And the second thing is most of them are co-ran by local jurisdictions of emergency services, so they will hear it too. So your fire, dispatch, EMS, police, they will hear it too, and they will get people out to you. So that's one thing you can do. That is an FCC or the Federal Communications Commission's their law. It is a law. You can look it up. It is 100% legal. But if you want to get ham radio, if you do get certified in it and get licensed, you have to pay a fee. You have to take a test. It is kind of an extensive test. There's a lot of radio theory and a lot of understanding wavelengths and all that stuff. So if you're a bit of a nerd like me, it's not too bad. But I didn't get mine because I have the grade right below it. I'm working on getting my ham. I just am taking the steps. But the ham is nice because you can reach people all over. You can bounce off the ionosphere and talk to people across the world. It's amazing how far you can do it. And also the repeaters are like the old school cell towers, where now how it is you hit a cell tower, it goes up to a satellite, and then it goes to wherever you need to go to. The old school radio towers with repeaters is it literally goes from repeater to repeater to repeater to repeater until you reach somebody. It's kind of really cool like that. So I recommend it eventually, but if people are barely getting into this stuff and they want to know it, an easy one that anybody can get, and it's not expensive, is you get what's a thing called GRMS. And GRMS stands for General Radio Multi-Service. And it's $35 to get your license. You don't have to take a test. You get registered, get your call sign from the FCC. And it's awesome because you get, like Marie, your husband gets, like if you register, he gets your call sign. Your parents can use your call sign, and your kids can use your call sign. It's one generation above and one generation below for 10 years.
Okay. Wow.
And the distance on it is, you can buy just from antenna to antenna up to 30 or not. Antenna to antenna is usually about 5 miles. I've gotten it out to almost 8 miles using more high output antennas. But with repeaters, you can get out to 35 miles.
So what kind of radio is this? So you said it's a general radio multi-service, but what kind of radio does this work for? Like if somebody was out trying to get prepared, what kind of radio would you suggest they pick up?
There's a few good ones out there. My favorite one I like is what's called rugged radios. And you just type in like in Google or Amazon rugged radios, and then type in GMRS or GRMS, yeah, and you can, or GMRS, that's what it is, GMRS, not GRMS, sorry about that. But it's General Multi Radio Service.
Oh, GMRS.
Yes. I got so many acronyms in my head. I'm surprised my head hasn't exploded yet.
Okay. No, that's totally fine. Just making sure that people are looking up the right one. So rugged radios, GMRS.
Yes. I would highly recommend those.
I think we got Steven frozen now too.
Where I would
having fun. Okay. You are back now. Okay. You can continue. Froze for a second.
Okay. So that's where I would, oh yeah, you're pulling up for us. Thank you. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. And then just like I said, get your license, and you can get onto those frequencies. You can look up GMRS frequencies online. It gives you the whole list of all the frequencies, and most of these radios have already pre-programmed channeled, so you can just get it and immediately use it. You don't have to set it up. But that's a one that's really easy. It's cheap. They're not expensive radios. They're less than $100, or some of them are less than $50, and you can go off and do it. There's a new system out there that I like, that's very known. It's called Mesh-tastic. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. No? So what Mesh-tastic is it is radios, but it is what we call LoRa, or LoRa, which is just short for long range radios, that you can do off grid or off cell phone texting through radios.
Awesome.
So you can, it's now, mind you, because it is using radio frequencies, and people don't realize, like 5G looks like a freaking, like a Richter scale earthquake, because it's a high frequency and it's small, but with the higher frequency it can send more stuff. This is a little bit lower than a 5G network, but I would say it's around like a 2G, roughly around a 2G network, and you guys can send texting, but only, like, if you guys probably remember, like, growing up, and anybody that's listening or watches later, when we could only text so much,
and then
it was like,
is it also where you have to hit the one 3 times to get a letter?
No. The cool thing is you can get these devices, Bluetooth it to your phone, go into an app. You don't need cell service.
Wow.
You don't need Wi-Fi. It's just Bluetooth, and you can text like normal off your cell phone.
But
and
you have a limit amount of how many characters you could use.
Yes.
So it's
they
like
even make one.
We're going like Morse code. Here is the basic message. Get it out. What you need.
Yes, exactly. I'm laughing because somebody else says it just like me, Marie. Oh, hey, it's like Morse code. You only get so much because you only have so much to give.
Well, and you have to pay for every letter. And anyways, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
My dad did Morse code breaking in the Navy.
Oh,
so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our what you can also do. It's a new thing. Now, the only thing with Mesh-tastic is you have to have a network, meaning you have to have people in your area with other Mesh-tastic in order for them to receive the text, because it is using still a radio. So
now, kind of speaking of that, bro, now, one thing is having your family all geared. Now, would it behoove you to kind of link up with other family members or things to that level, and kind of have a contingency plan with not just your family, but with other families as well, right? Like, and you kind of, like I said, you kind of link up, and the more that you can kind of get people together, the more powerful, I guess, your little tribe will become, because like you could definitely do a lot better with security, and then people going out when you have more people to kind of cover all that stuff. But I mean, I get, it's probably hard enough for us to focus just on our direct families, but would it be wise to reach out and try to get others involved and make sure maybe they have a radio, like, hey, this family have a radio, this family have a radio, and guys, go on this frequency if something ever happens, and then we meet at point A or whatever.
Yeah, so no, you're right there. So yes, so the model I kind of give people is always start with yourself. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have enough stuff for yourself. Make sure you have medical supplies. Make sure you do have ammunition. You have communications for yourself. Then yes, get into your family. Like for me, I'm a single guy. I do have, like, I have my parents. I have my siblings, but that's it. But with my siblings, I reached out to them. Hey, get a radio. My parents. One of the things I did for the Christmas this year is, for their Christmas present, I bought them some high grade rugged radios and said, here you go. You guys have radios now. So if things go bad, not only can you talk to each other, I can talk to you. And by the way, here's my call sign. So if you need to get onto a repeater, use it, get a hold of me. And it's such a thing, like that sort of stuff. So, but then after your family, you want to go to neighbors. Now, how you can do this is like in our area, and even in California, I know there's a big LDS community in California. Reaching out to the people in your either in the faith-based or, like, for instance, like going to some of these emergency preparedness fairs that they're all over the place. These emergency preparedness fairs, they're all over. Go and meet up with people, find and network. Hey, where do you live? Oh, you're only 5 miles away from me? No way. How have I not met you? Or why have we never linked up like this? And then you build that network. That was one of the first things I did when I returned back to Idaho. Is I started building my network. I started finding, and it's just asking simple questions hey, what'd you think about this earthquake that happened in California? Like, what do you think about that? And what do you, or I know, Marie, we just had a really nasty fire down near Eureka, but like asking, hey, what do you think about this fire that happened down near Eureka? Do you think what would it be like if that happened here? What do you think? Are you ready for it? Is your family ready for it? And you just ask like certain kind of leading questions like that. And if they kind of like, oh, I never thought about it, I should probably get prepared. Boom, you just made a connection. You've got a network. Now you're going to start building it. And then eventually you can start getting into the, hey, let's get radios. Hey, maybe once a month or once every other month, let's do a radio check and do a communications plan. If you have anybody that's outside of your state, like me, one of my siblings lives in Wyoming. I always make sure that we have a communications plan, and we're always checking in. And he's part of my communications plan of, hey, if something happens and I can't get to people out here, I might be able to get somebody outside, whether through text or through radios or something like that, and they can contact other people for me. So it's kind of, you want to build that.
So can I
network.
jump in on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that it's wonderful that you're bringing that up. And I like that idea of emergency preparedness fairs, locally, take a look at your online resources to see if you can find one locally. But like the thought that I had, in the LDS community, okay, because we were talking about that. And like I said, they're really big on emergency preparedness and stuff like that. And so this is just an example. I'm not trying to push LDS on anybody. Just let me put that out there. Okay. But they have resources where if there is an emergency, you can contact whoever is your local church member and or whoever's, you like your local bishop or stake president or whatnot. You can contact them, and then they have a way to contact other people as well. And so you could find your family members, or you can find locations. So like if there is an emergency, you can find, go to the Deseret, industries, where they host food. So that can be a safe place for you to meet family or friends, and I know that there's other locations like that too. And so first question, will be, where can people in just their general local community find specific resources of, okay, I can't get a hold of my family. We don't have an emergency plan. Where can they go to get supplies, resources, kind of touch base to check in, to try and contact their family members? But then also, I just wanted to bring up, on a side note, so we had somebody called Travis Landchild on here recently, and he has he's the author of Stick Vet comics, and he's created this Stick Vet Nation or Stick Nation on Discord, and this one's just for veterans, but I'm sure that there are other places or other locations. So he has it where if you are part of the Stick Nation, you put a general idea of where you're located at, like not specifics. You say, hey, this is the city I'm located. And now just on my maps, I can look on my maps. And if I am in a location where I don't know anybody, I don't recognize anybody, I needed to find somewhere to find safety, I can look on the map and say, oh, what veteran is available in this area? Where do they live? So if I have to get out of Utah, I don't know anybody in Idaho, I can say, oh, I know Steven lives in this area in Idaho. And so I can start heading that way and then do my best to locate him and contact him when I have communications. And so I guess my question is, continuing on with that vein, I know ham radio, they have those repeater stations. And so if you are out there, you have a ham radio, or even if you don't have a ham radio, you can just look online for the locations of the repeaters. And that is a safe location that you can go to and say, hey, I don't know where I am. I'm lost. I'm stuck. I'm hurt, whatever it is. I can't get service anywhere. I can't make any communication, but I can see on this map that there's this ham radio repeater. I can go there and I know at least there's a radio. And so I guess my question is, you've got these different places for that. Where can people go to find those emergency locations if they can't get a hold of anybody? So where can they make a plan now so they know how to reach somebody? I've got the ham radio stuff, and I've got the Stick Nation, and I've got the church. Some people don't have any of those three. So where would you suggest that they go to?
So the first thing I would suggest is go on to or contact their local county or city emergency management department, they usually it's called OEM, Office of Emergency Management, and find out what kind of resources they have, or what we call safe havens or safe locations that they have. One that's simple that everybody can look up and it's super easy to find is hospitals. Hospitals are safe locations. They're safe havens. They're great. Fire stations, another great one. The network I use that I love is actually from another veteran who lives down in Heber City, Utah, who is a good friend of mine. His name is Mike Glover. He's if anybody has ever heard of or knows the preparedness community, they know who Mike Glover is. He started a company called Fieldcraft Survival back in the day. He's a retired sergeant major out of 10th Special Forces Group. He worked in CAG. He's been a GRS security contractor. Guy's amazing. But he has a network called American Contingency, or it's also called AMCON. AMCON is a great network. It's like $7 a month for your membership, but you can link up with everybody across the whole United States, and they give out, you have locations, you can set up your own networks, you can set up mini networks. It's such a great thing. And even if you don't want to have the membership, you can just go onto their website, and it gives you all the resources for your area and also to get for preparedness. Their whole idea of American Contingency was Mike saw what was happening during the 2020 riots. And the idea of it was, let's put out a network for people to know where these riots are happening and not talking about like cities. I'm talking about blocks and subdivisions and suburbs. So they could be, if they need to get out of there because they're afraid of getting, in a riot, they can get out of there. Or if they're driving down the street and they're going to run into a riot, they would have this network where they would pass social media to put up, hey, they are located at this street and this street. Well, then it evolved and it got into the super preparedness emergency preparedness, where they were like, let's start networking and let's start growing. And it's a great, great program. I'd highly recommend look at that. But number one, always look at your local resources. Look at your people that are that. Now, in like my case, our OEM is not the best. It's kind of fallen to the wayside just because they've put OEM and said, hey, everything that OEM's doing, we're just going to let all the other responders do. We're going to let EMS deal with their stuff. We're going to let fire deal with their stuff. And OEM's kind of more, even though they're supposed to be there to prepare citizens and make sure those services are getting what they need in the sense of resources, ours here where I live, they kind of fell to the west. So what I kind of did is I said, I'll start building a network. So I started building my own network. And then the nice thing is with between the church and then my network, and I'm not part of the church. I'm not part of the LDS church. I'm just a Christian. But the LDS church realized a lot of the people here with their emergency coordinators were like, oh, You know what you're talking about. You're a great resource. How can we network with you, Steven? And then when they found out I have my own network, they went, oh, that's going to make us even stronger and more prepared and more, resilient, which is what we want. So, but number one, look at your local resources. Number two, if you can't, there is AMCON, American Contingency. I would definitely go onto them. They are a great resource. I love Mike. I love what he did with it. It's a great program. But yeah, that's kind of where with that side. But yeah, and then but with that, once you have that kind of that network, what we've talked about with like what Brian, you were talking about, like, well, with your family and getting in touch.
Let me kind of ask this, I guess you're probably going to go into it, but how do you approach your neighbors and other folks, right? And get them to have kind of that same sense of urgency that maybe you have, right? Like, you may feel that there's going to be a natural disaster in your heart or this or that, and you're so adamant and you want to go talk to your neighbors and they're kind of looking at you like, who is this whack job? You know what I mean? And I imagine, if you were to go back and anybody that watches the Bible, or reads the Bible and knows the story of Noah and the ark, right? It's just like him building this big ark and, getting to, each of animals and doing it. Everybody's like, there's not going to be a crazy flood or whatever. And there was a big flood, right? And, and we all know the story. But how do you approach people and without kind of coming off like you're losing it?
Well, I will say this though, the because of what's happened with COVID, the riots in 2020, and then the follow-on stuff with some of these major disasters we had the big the couple, and I'm saying a few huge wildfires out in California, your neck of the woods, not only the LA ones, but the Paradise one, you name it, there was there. Then we've had the hurricanes recently. I'm trying to think what else we've had that's been, but just not only natural disasters and man-made disasters, we've also had technological disasters. I mean, the out in Palestine, Ohio, with the train wreck that was like with like the chemicals and everything. We've had all these major situations. A big one that's happened in Idaho, a lot of people know about this, happened back in the 70s, was the Teton Dam busted. And that was a big thing. People, a lot of people got killed because of the flood. It's a big thing. Now, that's way north of where I live, but it's enough that a lot of the water sediments and everything got pushed down in my area. But that kind of stuff, it's kind of now made it where people like the crazy people, i.e. me, the ones that are wanting to be prepared, they're now the normal people. The people that are unprepared are kind of more seen as like, dude, you don't see the writing on the wall? You're crazy, man. Like, there's a lot more of us, and I would say in the more of the rural communities, it's kind of that way, and the more of the hustle and bustle of the city, you don't really find a whole lot of those people, but because they're so used to just the daily comfort of life. But it's starting to become more and more prevalent. But to not come off as a whack job, you just bring up events. Hey, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? How would we be ready? How would you be ready for that? Or, hey, I thought about this, like, and people might look at you kind of weird, but then it plants seeds in their head.
And this is that networking that you're talking about and collaborating. Yes. And you're like, okay, here's my strengths. Here's your strengths, how we can work it together.
Yes. Now,
building that tribe.
Don't give all of your strengths when you're first meeting people.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Because you want to make sure those people are vetted.
Well, and that's the question that I had too, is like, how do I word this? Okay. You have neighbors,
you have friends. Information to the predator. You know what I mean? Like,
but you have neighbors and you have friends, and you want to be able to collaborate and network in an emergency situation, but you also have to be emotionally prepared to put up boundaries if you need to, but also you want to be able to have resources that you can help. So how do you find that balance on wanting to help people, whether it's with physical supplies or whether it's emotional support or networking? How do you find that balance? And this could be like a whole episode on itself, but how do you find that balance of protecting yourself while also trying to be open and helpful? How do you find that balance, Stephen? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a deep deep question. That's a hard question because I've had to find it
There's
because
probably not a
I
right or wrong answer here. It's probably circumstantial, right? To each
Yeah.
person, maybe.
it's not only circumstantial per person, but it's also situationally based. It depends on the situation. If it's a minor emergency, like obviously like you were talking about, Marie, like if I know, like for instance, I last year I had a family who had a young gentleman. He was 20 years old, just got back from boot camp from the Air Force, and he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I trained this young man up to go into basic training, and I was trying to help him. His family reached out to me, and so I was there as their emotional support, but I still was there like with physical stuff, like I went and brought them food so they didn't have to worry about going and buying groceries, and because they already had their head. I was, I helped them with, they've never had a death in the family, where I've been, part of funeral details and dealt with deaths in my family. So I kind of was like helping them navigate through the process of dealing with the mortuary, dealing with the funeral process. And it was just I was their advocate for them. So I was there both that way. But then there's a point where that was their little emergency. Well, now it's almost been a year since his passing. They've kind of, in the last probably 3 months, it's kind of oh, hey, we don't need you as much kind of stuff. So I've kind of put those boundaries back up, saying, hey, I only know I have so much. But when it comes to like emergencies where not really the sky is 100% falling, but there is sky falling parts, I would say like the balance is, it depends on the situation. One, your comfortability, and two, your comfortability with the people you're trying to help. Like there's like, for me, like I know that my community's grown so much since I've grown up in it. And so like half my neighbors, I don't even know. They've moved in from either Utah, California, Texas, Oklahoma. I've slowly got to know them, but the ones that I've known for years, those are the ones like I'm definitely going to help. And it's like, hey, here's all my capabilities. But you also have to warn people, like, here's my capabilities, but don't try me. Because you got to make sure you are protecting.
Huh?
You have to have those boundaries, because you got to protect what's yours and that. So it's like, give them a warning. Hey, don't share this to everybody. Don't let everybody in your network know. Like, this is between me and you kind of thing. I'm putting trust in you. And that's where that trust comes in. And for us in the veteran community, that is a big thing, is trust, because we have to trust people when we're downrange, in a foxhole, on the front lines. When we get into the civilian world and people have these second and third order agendas, that's where we have to learn how. We only give out so much. Like for me, like I'll say this, my communications plan, except for my immediate network, nobody else knows. And I refuse to let anybody else know. And it's to the point where it's like, memorize this, then flush it down the toilet kind of thing, because I don't want my communications intercepted and stuff like that. And my, put out vulnerabilities. The same thing, my full capabilities, I don't let everybody know. I let them know just a tiny little bit. Even my network, when people ask me, oh, who's in your network? I don't give out names. I don't give out locations. I may give out, certain little information, and people might say, oh, Steven, you're being paranoid. No, I am being cautious, and I'm being safe, not only with my information, but also other people's information, because they put that trust in me. So there's this balance we have to have. So yes, it is a very, like you brought up, Brian, 100%, brother. It's it's all based on person to person.
So at some point, I would love to have you, so we have talked about possibly doing this multiple times, this class, or
Yeah.
kind of portions of it, and I think that one of them that I would like to do is a little bit more of evaluating who safe people are, what kind of things to look out for, how to establish those boundaries. I think that that would be a really good conversation. So if that's something that you would be up for, I'd love to have you on to kind of go into more details of that. Cause I think, again, that could be a whole thing in yourself. Like, how do you emotionally prepare? How do you prepare against people who are trying to take advantage of you, even if they're not physically trying to take things from you, but that manipulation stuff. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that the mindset's got to change, right? And we look at people a little different, right? Now the value of is how can they be valuable to us during this time, right? Because do you want someone to come in and start taking all your resources that you have saved up for, and now you didn't save up for this body, right? And you had your rations all saved up, and now you're bringing in, and it's possibly more than one individual you're bringing in, and you did not prepare for this person, right? And now you're trying to share your resources and stuff like that. At some level in time, when it comes down to survival, I imagine that each person has a face value, right? And that becomes real for us.
Yeah, so that's why, and this sounds really, really kind of, and it's the thing that it's like, it's counterintuitive. I will definitely say this is very counterintuitive, where we have our network with like us, where we have we don't want to look at we want to look at people and be like, oh, what's their hidden agendas, or what's their agenda behind what they're doing. We kind of have to do that now. It's messed up and it's counterintuitive, but we have to look at it going, how are they going to be a capability for me? And that's our primary thing. And then secondary is our alternate agenda is what can I do for them? How can I help them out? And that's kind of the mentality that people have to change, is instead of how can I help people, it has to be how can I benefit from them being in my network?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It literally has to go into
it's a hard mindset. Yeah, it's a different mindset that you really have to transform. Like, every day we're told, help and give and all this stuff, but when it comes down to survival,
it has to be give and take.
It's a little bit selective, and it's I guess we're saying some hard words, right? Because there's the harsh reality of it. Because when it does come down to survival, people's mindset will change.
And this goes into making sure that you are an asset. So that's the other side, is making sure that you're an asset. Not necessarily, it's not like you don't have worth if you don't have training, but it would be highly beneficial. And this is a question that I wanted to ask you as well. It would be highly beneficial to start doing emergency preparedness classes, or to learn some form of survival techniques that you can offer to help the next person, because it has to become give and take. That selflessness kind of goes out the window a little bit, and you have to be a little bit selfish in this,
and that's where I think we would struggle.
So with that, so one of the questions I have at the beginning, I was going to wait until later to ask, but I want to ask it now, is what type of training and classes would be suggested for the public to make them an asset to partner up and to be able to network with people?
So the one class I would highly recommend immediately. So kind of going into your so real quick with your mentality, I will say this much. You talk to any first responder, law enforcement, police officer, EMS, firefighter, they are taught from day one, your safety is top priority. You cannot help anybody if you're putting yourself in danger.
Same thing when the plane's going down, they say, save yourself first.
Yep. And they tell us this in the military, like, don't run in, you see your buddy get hurt, don't run into the gunfight trying to rip him, save him. End the gunfight first, then you can save him. Keep yourself safe so you can save him later. I 100% believe that. I think it's a great thing. So it's a hard thing because we want to be selfless. We want to have that. last night I was teaching. I taught a preparedness class. So one of the classes that's really easy, you can look it up online, that anybody can take. It's super simple. It's called Stop the Bleed. That is such a great one because bleeding, and we know this from 20 years of the global war on terror, bleeding is one of the leading causes of death in emergencies or gunfights, stabbing, stuff like that. Is people get injured and they bleed out. You bleed out quicker than you do from asphyxiation or not being able to breathe. So 100% I would say stop the bleed. That is actually
I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say in Iraq, so in the civilian class of an EMT, we're taught ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation.
Yeah.
But in Iraq, it completely changes and it turns into H, hemorrhaging. That
Yep.
is number one, is hemorrhaging. So immediately when you come upon a person, if they're down, you do a quick assessment, head to toe. Is there blood anywhere? That is
Yep.
number one. Everything, like you turn them over, you move around, you put your hands underneath them, you feel to see if there's blood, and you stop that bleeding first. So I love that you are bringing that up because that is like huge. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they even
So
taught that us in the Marine Corps. It was, check the wound, stop the bleeding, check for shock. I forgot. There was like a whole sequence. I mean, I don't remember the ditty it was now, but back then we had a ditty. And I mean, yeah, bleeding can, if you don't put a tourniquet on someone when they're the amount of blood that comes out of our body when there's an open wound is amazing, and someone can die out super fast. But with a tourniquet or something to that effect, it could really help that person to the next, to at least someone comes and helps.
yes. And I actually just taught a stop the bleed class last night. I'm a stop the bleed instructor through ACS, which you just had pulled up there, Brian, the American College of Surgeons. By the way, that program is partnered with the DoD.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the DoD and ACS came together and said, hey, let's get this out there. They kind of pushed this out to the point where it's like, hey, everybody learn AEDs, everybody learn CPR. This is the new thing. Hey, get everybody out there. I'm actually teaching an instructor because I'm also an instructor trainer. So I'm actually teaching an instructor course for Stop the Bleed later this fall for a bunch of people in my local area. Because right now in my local area of a community of 15,000 people, there's only 3 instructors. Me, one of my guys that I train, and then another guy that works at the hospital. That is it. Down in Logan, Utah, which is just south of us, that has over 100,000 people in it, in their county, in Cache County. They only have 5. So I'm trying to get more people involved, but it's super simple. The class is like max 2 hours long, and that's including hands-on training. You're actually practicing tourniquets, you're actually practicing packing wounds, you're practicing putting on bandages. It's a really great thing. So that is definitely one training I would highly recommend that people learn.
It's a BLS class, basic life-saving class. Yeah. So in the military, everybody is taught BLS, basic life-saving. And then just as a medic, I went into a lot more details. But yeah, that's what that sounds like is BLS. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a modified version of BLS, definitely.
How much does something like that cost someone? I mean, does it cost? What's the cost for it?
It depends on the instructors. It honestly depends on the instructors. Me, if I'm doing like in a community event, I do it for free. I'll do it for free. I have all the equipment. I'll just say, hey, come over. Like the other day, I had a booth set up at a local event we had here to celebrate the what we call Idaho Days. It's when the first settlement in Idaho happened, and I had a booth there, and I literally told people, I'm like, hey, at noon, from noon till 2, I will be teaching a free Stop the Bleed class. I set up some tables out in front of my booth, had a TV there so that I could teach the class, and I went through the slideshow. Then everybody got to do their stuff. I had gloves there. People got to ask me questions and got to hang out.
Do one here now. Okay, so we're gonna have to do a Stop the Bleed class here. We'll do one live, man. You're gonna have the whole setup for this, bro.
Yes, you can do a Stop the Bleed virtually. They actually on that website that you had, there's actually a virtual interactive course you can take. They'll go through the course. Then all you have to do to get fully certified is you just have to find an ACS, Stop the Bleed instructor in your local area. They pass off on your hands-on and you're fully certified. It's a great class.
So I was just gonna say, okay, the way that I met Steven is through Cash Coffee, who we have worked with Cash Coffee in the past. We're Coffee Talk, kind of unofficial sponsored, like they're really awesome community coffee shop that is hugely supportive of veterans and just the local community. So I had an idea that maybe we could do an actual, like, me and you meet up in Logan and do a class in Cash Coffee. So I think that'll be fun.
Down for that.
Awesome. All right,
100%,
Jamie and Mindy, if you're listening, Jamie and Mindy, we're going to make this happen.
God
Jamie,
only knows they have so many rods in the fire right now.
I know.
Got like a child's book coming out. I think they just did something for veterans, being able to get ratings.
The VSO. Yep.
Yeah, there's so much things that they're really working. I love Cash Coffee.
And they do a weekly meetup for veterans on Fridays, and they do just community events. Anyways, Cash Coffee, we love you guys. We love you. And we've been meaning to make something happen with you guys. And so I think this will be a good caveat to get it happen.
It's on Marie. I'm just going to say that.
We're going to do it.
Yeah. Jamie was actually just on a podcast that I did earlier. He because he lives in my local area. He did a different podcast called Everybody Has a Story, and then he was on there talking about suicide and talking about mental health, and because June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, they brought me on right at the end of or during that time in June, and they were like, "Hey, we just had Jamie on." I'm like, "Oh, Jamie." And so, yeah, it's kind of great, the community that's out there. But yeah, I would definitely say Stop the Bleed is one. There's so many things that people go on to that website that you had up there. They can not only do the online stuff, they can look up when classes are happening and stuff like that. And there's constant classes going on. It's a great program. Another one I would highly recommend anybody go and do is definitely go find either your local ham guys or your local radio group. Every county has one. They're a network all over, because a lot of them, Marie, like your father, and God rest his soul, and I'm sorry for your loss, as that the Morse code guys, when they got out of the military, they were the ham guys. They were the ham radio guys that set up these networks, and they were awesome, and they have a great network. Look up those people, or go and do a radio class, whether it's an in-person or an online class. Go and learn about radios and how to set up a communications plan, how to set up a network so that you have those the ability to communicate, because communication is key when it comes down to
the ham radio classes. Anybody can take it. You don't have to get a certification, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you can take it. You just can't. So this is the thing, is with a ham radio, unless it's an emergency, you can't use it, like talk on it, what we call transmit. However, you can turn it on and listen. Like like last night, we had a fire in my county. It was just nothing major. It's major because it did affect somebody's life, but it was a barn. But it wasn't like a wildfire or multiple structural fire. It was just a barn that unfortunately went up in flames, and that happens in a rural community. But immediately, right when I heard the sirens go off, I turned on my radio and I had dispatch already on there. I can't talk on it, but I can listen to find out what's going on. And that's and going into my background with the military intelligence, that's signal intelligence. That is intelligence I'm getting to know. And I'd highly recommend people to do that so they know what's going on, where places are problems are happening. Because I don't want to be driving down a road and all of a sudden, come to find out it's being washed out by a flash flood, and I'm in the middle of the flash flood. So there's certain things like that. So you have to follow certain protocols, but definitely a good thing. So I am a very, very big advocate of radio class, medical, those two. And then one I would definitely suggest for personal security, besides a situational awareness class, is take some kind of firearm safety class if you're going to be armed. Whether that is you're going to do handgun, shotgun, rifle, AR, even for me, I'm a veteran. I still go take classes. I am a firearms instructor. I still go take classes from other instructors because I want to keep up on my skills. I want to stay safe. I don't want anybody to feel that way. But definitely, if you're going to do that, take a firearms safety class. And if you are going to be armed, take a firearms class that's going to actually allow you to go out and use your firearm, train with it, practice with it, get training. There's so many great resources out there. And the thing is, with the veteran community now, there's so many of us veterans that have come out now. The firearms industry right now, the 2A community is so overwhelmingly strong right now because a lot of veterans have come out and they've gone into that 2A community. They have built up friendships and networks in it and there's so many great people coming out into there. Like, we just recently had a Green Beret move into my community, a former 5th group Green Beret, and he now teaches. He's a special forces sniper. He's still with 19th Special Force Group out of Utah, and he teaches sniper. He teaches long range precision shooting, and he's a phenomenal resource. And I would just say expand your knowledge. Don't look at that, but in order to that's the thing is. And I kind of say, I some people who are very anti-gun don't like this, but I say it. It's like, how do you stop a bad guy with a gun? Have a good guy with a gun.
Yeah, 100%. That's a fact.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend that. So those would be 3 classes right there, but definitely.
Well,
I
you
would say
said 4 actually. You've got the Stop the Bleed class, you have a
Yep.
radio class, a situation awareness class, and
Forgot that
weapons
one.
training.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 4 classes.
4 classes. Those would probably be a good 4 start classes. But definitely, but the nice thing is, like, I can do a full situational awareness class, and I'll just say, situational awareness back when I first learned it to now, it has blown completely out of proportion of what I thought it was, because now we have to look at online situational awareness, making sure our kids are not giving away information. We're making sure they're being safe online. We have to look at vehicle situational awareness, like, am I being tailed? Am I being tracked? Whether it's through like a tracking device, like an air tag, whether it is somebody's putting some kind of one I've seen is guys are putting reflective tape on bumper stickers, like on bumpers, so they can follow you at night. Stuff like that. There's just things like that. There's also situational awareness now with drones. We got to be worried about drones because drones are now a big. Anybody can buy a drone and use it to spy on you and stalk you. So there's a lot of things we have to look at. And people might think, oh, Steven, you're paranoid. You're worried about everything. It's like, I always want to think outside the box because my box is so big already. But I want to think outside the box because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah,
and we need to think about what ifs. What if they use this? What if they use that? What if they do this? What if they do that? So I always want to do that and have that mentality. So but that's kind of where I would say is we can definitely get on there and talk a little bit about that. I actually just taught a women's only class on situational awareness because I had a few girls who were just barely graduating high school and college, and they were freaking out about being stalked. And one was actually dealing with stalking currently, and I kind of gave her stuff on how to identify her stalkers and how to get information so that she can then prosecute her stalkers. So there's stuff like that we want to always look at, and I can definitely help out with that. So.
Yeah, we're getting ideas for a bunch of future classes, which is good because so far we've got a situational awareness class I'd like you to teach, and we've got the Stop the Bleed class. So that's 2 future classes there.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has been really good so far. Brian, I think you had something that you wanted to show.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do a veteran showcase real quick. I thought we'd do this one. It's very awesome. Scotty Hastings, we've showed his songs on here before, but he got to go do this for the 4th of July celebration and sing in front of the White House. I mean, with the orchestra, like the military orchestra. So it's awesome. I'm excited to share this with you guys, and I'm so happy that he got the opportunity to do this. So let's go ahead and take a look and show some love for Scotty Hastings out there doing amazing things.
Every line of this song speaks to why I joined the military. Please stand up, clap, show your support to all those who serve. I'm the river, I'm the brain, the lonesome whistle of a train. I'm the anthem that waves. And I'm the highway, I'm the farm, the fertile fields and boulevards, the hand of rest over your heart. Oh, I'm the echo of the bell that's ringing. Oh, I'm the freedom in the song we're singing. I'm the seed that's in the dust. I'm the prayer in God we trust. The place to dream for all of us. I'm America. I'm the music to the dance, the open window to a chance, the place where courage takes a stand. In all the colors that you see, the lights from 30,000 feet, I'm the roar of victory. Whoa, I'm the echo of the bell that's ringing. Whoa, I'm the freedom in the song we're singing. I'm the seed that's in the dust. I'm the prayer in God we trust. The place to dream for all of us. I'm America. I'm the fathers, I'm the sons, I'm the footprints in the mud, I'm a shelter washed in blood. Whoa, whoa. I'm the seed that's in the dust, I'm the prayer in God we trust. Place to dream for all of us. I'm America. I'm America. I'm America. I'm America.
Wow, that dude is doing some amazing things. What a full circle for him. If you guys don't know Scotty Hastings' story, he was shot 10 times while serving in Afghanistan and is alive to talk about it. And his injuries were pretty extensive, and even to the point where his strumming hand is really messed up. So he has to wear something to kind of help him. And he learned how to play the guitar all through that afterwards. So he is literally the epitome of resilience and just amazing human being. And I love to see that he's out there representing the veterans and standing right there on the grass. I mean, in front of the White House singing. Like, I got goosebumps, so keep doing what you're doing, brother, man. Love you, bro. All right, Steven, let's go ahead and get back to you, brother. And
that was really good.
Yeah,
that was amazing. That was great. Yeah, amazing voice. He has an amazing voice.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love seeing how big he's turning out to be. I mean, when he's come on my show a couple times, and having him on when he first came on, he wasn't signed by anybody or anything. Within that year, he ended up getting signed, and then I think he's into his like second year or third year of being signed. So it's just, you can just see the momentum of him growing and getting to do amazing things. He got to go to the 80th anniversary of D-Day, got to go to Florence, Italy, and go step foot on the beach of Normandy. Just some really great things, and it's rightfully so for him. He's a true American hero, and he's out there where he could be, behind closed doors, not really want to do anything with his life because he's lost a lot of brothers too. He's out there, he's making a difference and writing about it as well and playing about it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Stephen, we've kind of gone, through a couple different layers. What is one of the next things that you wanted to talk about? And we're going to have you on a few more times, but so we've talked about just for those who are joining in, we've talked a little bit about survival kits, 3 day, 3 week, and 3 month survival kits. We've talked about the different survivor pillars, which include food and water, medical and health and hygiene, communication, shelter, and security. We've talked about, communications with regards to ham radio, with regards to the GMRS, General Multi-Radio Service. We've talked about different radios. We've talked about networking, meeting up plans, and the Office of Emergency Management to get safe locations, or building a community, going to events and talking to different people about survival or networking. We've talked about finding balance and being helpful and protecting yourself, becoming an asset yourself so that people can utilize you, and also so you could be self-sufficient. So we've talked about different training regards to stop the bleed, radio classes, weapons training, situational awareness classes. We've had some really amazing conversations so far. What else would you like to share with us today?
The one thing I will also say is, so we have, obviously, you kind of talked about it a little bit, and I know, like, in California it's a big thing. Utah it is too, and we've been seeing it in Utah, and in California especially. Is the last couple of things I want to talk about is you have to make a decision in your own personal life whether you're going to shelter in place, or what we call bugging in, or you're going to get the heck out of Dodge. And that's where that personal decision. So I'm going to touch on those two real quick, and I'm going to talk about a couple of things. So bugging in, or sheltering in place. So when we shelter in place in an emergency, we need to think about security first and foremost. So first thing is, we want to make sure that our area, our location is safe for us to be in. For first most, is, if like in a natural disaster, is the structure structurally sound? Would I be willing to put my life and my family's life or other people's lives in danger by putting them in there? Or is it safe enough that, yep, we're okay? So that's the first thing. The next thing we want to look at is I call it our layers, our cake layers, or also we call it our bubbles of security. So we want to look at pretty much 3 layers. Once we decide, yep, I want to stay in place, we look at 3 layers. We have our outer layer, or our outer bubble. This would be our perimeter. Now, if we think about this like in the military, right? This was on a fob. This is our perimeter fence, right? This was our, we had, like, I know, Marie, you served in Iraq. Were you over in Afghanistan at all?
Iraq.
Just Iraq? Okay.
Yeah. So
I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was mainly in Afghanistan. I was only in Iraq for a little stint with special operations, but we know on our fobs, we have the HESCO barriers or the T-walls, that's our outer perimeter. Now, can we get that here in America? If you do, can you come build it in my house? Because I would love to have that around my house. Can you put a boat? And I want alligators too. Like, I want the full thing.
And while you're at it, put up a couple Patriot missials around the perimeter.
Yeah, I know.
Too.
There we go. Yeah.
Right?
Wait, we need a guard tower too. Let's do it.
Yes. I want 50 cal.
There we go. Yep.
I want my Madus. But what it is so for that we can do certain things, like, for instance, real simple and easy things people can buy, and they're so cheap now. You can go buy security cameras, and you can put up Wi-Fi security cameras. But let's say you're like, you know what, I can't, you want to have that contingency. Super simple and easy thing that people can buy are trail cams, what hunters use for trail cams.
Yeah.
That is simple, easy security system right there. And the nice thing is, you can Bluetooth them Or you can set up a Wi-Fi network where it's not even like using internet. It's just using a connection. So it goes from the camera to a router to the router to your phone, and that's it. You don't need internet. You just need a connection. And
yeah, because it's always gonna because I would say that's always gonna be the most important thing, because I imagine at the level that we hit some kind of major catastrophe like Wi-Fi and shit like that, it's not gonna be accessible or hard to access. I mean, we might not have as easy access like we used to, right? I could be way off. I mean, but I'm almost certain that we're going to lose, a lot of capabilities that we once had.
No, you're 100% right. I was stationed at Fort Hood during the Fort Hood shooting. We talked about that in about my past. We noticed that immediately cell network went down because so many people were talking and calling.
Yeah.
So Wi-Fi, same thing. All that
because Wi-Fi,
it's going to get bogged down. Wi-Fi is going to get bogged down. Internet's going to get bogged down. So even if you have a direct line, kind of like I was talking about with Mesh Tastic, where it's like, I don't need internet service to text to you. I can use this. It's a way. So having some kind of thing like that. Another thing is some kind of early warning system. A really easy early warning system that people can put up is, and they're not expensive, is they're called primer trip lines. And what they are is they're just they're little things. They look like little blasting caps, but all you do is you take a little primer from like a shotgun shell, you put it in there, and if somebody pulls the trip line, it hits it with a firing pin and it makes a little pop.
Scare the piss out of a motherfudger right there, bro. I would hit, gosh damn, I would shit myself or hit the deck, one of the two or both.
Yeah.
all the above. But even simpler than that, what I learned in like SEER school and stuff like that, what I learned was super simple and easy. You get some old Coke cans, you run a string through the Coke, the tab, and guess what? You put that along and it jingle, jingle, jingle. But you don't put that all the way along so people can see. You put it on a couple little areas where if they hit that trip line, it rattles a couple of them on the ends where they're hidden in bushes or near bushes, and it still makes that audible noise. There you go. You got an alert system.
Well,
or you even have a telephone. Remember, you could put the little
yeah. If you're in your home too, one thing that I was taught is you put something glass or metal on your door handle. And then if somebody tries to jiggle that handle, it's going to fall, and that's going to let you know somebody's trying to get in.
Yes. Another thing is putting glass or something that's can make little noises. It's during the 4th of July right now. I recommend people go get those little snap pops that you throw and they just make a little pop sound.
Yeah.
Get those, put them on the ground. People step on them, boom, makes a little pop sound. Oh, what the heck was that? Now we also have to worry about animals and whether it's wildlife and stuff like that, messing with that stuff. We do, but that's why. But we at least have that alert system. So, but those are easy things you can do. Obviously, having fencing, having vegetation definitely helps kind of deter it. So that's your outer perimeter. The next bubble is your house, and your house. You want to look at we want to black out in a disaster. When we want to bug in, we don't want people know we're there except for our network. We want what we call blackout. So we turn off the lights, we black out our windows so that no light can get out. Whether it's through blackout curtains, stuff like that. We also want to reinforce entry points. We want to make sure we have good deadbolts. A good thing is your what we call your strike plate, where it's your where the locking mechanism happens into your door frame. Those come with little tiny screws. Get rid of those screws. Get some 2 or 3 inch freaking big old meaty freaking concrete screws and put those in. Because I'll go buy where is it? Home Depot, and I'll say, hey, do you guys have any damaged or blemished doors that you're not getting rid, that you're just trying to get rid, you're in a truck? And they're like, yeah, we have a bunch in the back. I'll go buy them with the frame. I'll build a little, and what I'll do is I'll set them into a frame, and I'll show people how easy it is to kick in a door. And I'll set up 2x4s. I'll make it reinforced. I'll put headers on it. I'll be like, look how easy I can kick in a door. And I can and it's not even that hard. And I show how easy it is to kick in somebody's door. And let alone if you got somebody who is trained and knows how to do true breaching, from, SWAT teams or from the military, yeah, that's where you need to have that more, sophisticated stuff. So simple things like having a better, that stuff, having some door jams, stuff like that. Just having stuff in place that'll limit the access to your safe haven, your home. And then the last bubble is what we call our Alamo. And this is what we call our hard room. This is a room that we have set up that is, hey, if our outer perimeter gets breached, they're breaking in the doors. We can't defend all these rooms. We can't defend this footprint. We just need to lock down and hold one spot. Last stand. That's why we call it the Alamo. That is where I know I can set up. I have the most strategic and tactical advantage over the intruders and all that stuff. So we want to harden our home. So that's the way we can do it. We want to find that room. Honestly, I'll tell you this much, a really good one is a bathroom with tile in it. That is a really, really good hardened room that you guys can get into. And it just kind of does that thing. It's a very interlocked room. But basements are really great as well. But you also want to make sure you have an exit route.
I was just going to say that because the thought process that went through my mind is like, okay, I've got 2 stories. Okay. And if I went into one of the bathrooms, I wouldn't have access out. If I go to the bathrooms upstairs, I would have to jump out a 2-story window. But we have a little room under our staircase that actually that it has access to under the house. And
into
so
your crawl space.
Yes. So that I think would be the best. And then just break my way out of the crawl space if I need to.
Yep. Well, and even prep your house right now, like maybe find where that crawl space is and make a false wall in there. So it's super easy. Just you kick on it, it falls over, you walk right out and you have a little escape tunnel, as you could say. But no, you always want to have, like you said, with like the second story, it's like, well, and they're really cheap now. Buy a fire ladder. You buy one of those roll up fire ladders that you just hook onto that just hooks and braces onto your freaking frame of your window, and you just roll it out. You climb down. But
that's really smart.
You always want to try to be on first floors. You never want to try to go second floors. You want to do that, but always have an escape route. Always have an escape route when you're fortifying your house, and think about that stuff. But with that, part of like what you were talking about, Brian, with the fire drills and stuff like that, like you need to think about. Now that's where we go into the second part. Well, if I want to get out of there, I need to have an evacuation plan. So so when you build an evacuation plan, you kind of use your PACE plan, but and we'll kind of talk about that. But with PACE plan, with your immediate house, how do I get out of my house so like a fire happens or an earthquake happens? What is 4 ways I can get out of my house, out of the building or the house? What's my primary? What's my alternate? Now, the nice thing is, like, if you go into any business, the main entrance is your primary entrance and exit. But and I'm pretty sure most veterans do this, and a lot of first responders, and I'll say anybody that trains with me in situational awareness, they always do this. I tell them, when you walk into a store, look for those exit signs and find out where the other exits are so you can get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I even tell people, I'm like, if you're feeling a little worried about the area, like a mall or something, drive around before you park, drive around the mall and see how many entrances and exits, and then when you first walk in, take a picture of the map, because all like malls have maps. Take a picture of the map, and now you have every entrance and exit and building and location inside of that location.
And this is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why military personnel have a really hard time reintegrating back into civilian life, because we are so trained to do that.
Hypervigilant.
We are constantly looking at where is the exit. If you notice, if you see, a veteran or just anybody who's been trained in this kind of stuff, they can't put their back to a door. They have to put their back to a wall so they can see, how do I get out? Where is the danger? And the reality is that everybody needs to have some form of that training, especially with the way the world is right now, because of those natural disasters, because of those, those people who want to do you harm for both reasons. In a natural disaster, this is a huge thing.
There's a lot more shootings and stuff like that going on and stuff.
Yeah, if there's shootings, if there's a natural disaster, whatever it is, you want to know all the ways to get out of that situation. So I like that you're bringing this up because everyone needs a little bit of that vigilantism. But the issue is when that overtakes everything, and so you have to find that balance. So thank you for bringing that up because that is so important. Know how to escape a situation.
Exactly, and that's part of that is that situational awareness. And I'll say this with any of the veterans that are listening, if you ever feel this way where you're feeling like you're hyper vigilant and you're having this like overwhelming, like like use it to your advantage and go and teach your kids, go and teach your wife, use it and actually. So one, you're gonna have to only watch their back and your back, but now you're training them. But teach your friends, and it's such a great. It is
explain
a great
to them
skill
what you're doing, right? I think that's the thing. We just kind of do it, without explaining it. My wife understands now. I mean, where I gotta sit and kind of all that stuff because she asks me immediately, "Where do you want to sit?" And she already kind of gets the gist of it. Like, so I have direct access to my exits and things like that. So. But
Well,
I think that's a good point, man. We do need to start being a little bit more explanatory of like our hypervigilance because it could very well save someone else's, your child's life or your wife's life. I mean, at some point in time.
Well, this is that part of using your training and that sometimes gets mingled with trauma and turning it into an asset. And so like we know that we had this training for a reason, but then traumas get involved in our insecurities and PTSD and all of this stuff gets involved and it turns into a problem. But you can take that power and you can turn it back into an asset. You can break the chain and turn it into an asset,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I like that idea of yes, explain what you are seeing. Like, and that's the thing too, is a lot of people they just sit in their head and they're just like frozen because they're feeling that whatever the word is. But you when you're sitting there with somebody that you care about, let them know, hey, this is what I'm noticing, this is what I'm seeing, and break that chain of it's holding me and it's freezing me, and a thought process that went through my head is I think I shared this on here before, Brian, but that idea of having your partner who has your back because they understand, this is what you're looking out for, whether you're civilian, military, service member, first responder, it doesn't matter. But explaining to somebody what you have going on is so important. Like I'm very blessed because my husband is a Marine. And so he has also had, the same type of training in me. And like we had a situation the other day where we were out in the mountains and we were walking around and there was nobody else around. We got to walk in. He got way farther on the trail and wound up farther away where I couldn't see him. Well, all of a sudden, this random man comes running down the trail. Now, he wasn't a threat, but my brain automatically went into, okay, what if this man is a threat? Can I defend myself? What weapon is around? And will I be able to scream loud enough to get to my husband? And my husband, right after those thoughts were going through my head, I see him he had turned around and came back. And he's like, I saw the man and I went through the same evaluation. So I just wanted to make sure that I had you in my sight. So A, you felt protected. And B, if something happened, I was there. And so it's always so good, even if you feel like, oh, this is so crippling, talk to somebody about it so they can have your back and they can help comfort you in that. Like, hey, I know that you're seeing all of this stuff. Just know that you are safe in this moment. And if you're not safe, I'm here with you.
Yeah. So, Steven, let me ask you real quick. When is it a good time to kind of hunker down versus flee? You know what I mean? And where do you make that determination, right, man? I mean, because there's the obvious, right? Like the fire's creeping, and you probably should get your ass the hell out. If you tried fighting it as much as you could. It's like, oh shit, abandoned ship type stuff. But where do you think that deciding factor is, man? I mean, for you to say, all right, you know what, we should get the hell out of Dodge, bro. Like it's abort.
Again, and it comes back to this: it's situational dependent and it's personal dependent. For me, and this is my personal and professional advice. Is I would say for me, it's whenever I feel like that my window of opportunity of escaping is within pretty much. I've actually practiced this, and again, crazy cuckoo Steven, but I actually time myself, how quickly can I get my assets, my personal assets, so like my food, my water, my equipment, my gear, my radios, everything, and all that stuff is already in tough boxes and bags, so I can just grab and go. How quickly can I get that out to a vehicle and get driving down the road? And I time myself, and mine is an hour. I have an hour to get all my assets into my vehicles, and I'm on the road. If I feel like that window is coming up onto an hour, once I know, okay, I have this much time, I'm out.
So you
And so
I give myself an hour window.
Control, like you kind of lose control of the situation. Like, oh shit, this is beyond what I feel that I could take care of. Now we got to get the fuck out because I can't even.
Yes. Yeah, it's beyond control. I know it's kind of like we said. It's that the great thing with like the fire is that visual. Like, okay, that fire. The firefighters are saying I have an hour before it reaches my, give or take, before it reaches my property.
So start getting ready now and let's get out.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Your threshold is an hour. You said, like as you said, that takes you about an hour. So you need that hour. I mean, probably even maybe like an hour and 15. Because. Shit, I mean, I don't know if you gave yourself a little bit of a cushion in that hour, but I imagine whatever you think you can do, you got to probably give yourself a little, because we all know when shit hits the fan, man, you can train 1,000 times over, but that 1,001 was the one thing you didn't train for, and that always comes up, and you could be the most prepared person in the world, but you forgot to fucking be prepared for that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why I would say when you're doing this training and this planning, like if you have kids and you have stuff like that, one, make sure they have their bug out kits or they have their stuff ready to go, and you practice this with, because kids, it takes longer because you're dealing with because now not only are you dealing with them physically, but you're dealing with them emotionally, you're dealing with them panicking and you're panicking and all that stuff. So that window grows a lot bigger, where instead of, like, for instance, for me being a single male, having only an hour, it might be, if I have a couple of kids, it might be 3 or 4 hours I have, because I got to round all their stuff up. I got to round up their favorite toy that it's hidden in the closet 3 rows deep into behind Mr. Squishy, and I want but I don't want Mr. Squishy, I want Mr. Plushy, kind of thing. It's a whole different ballgame when you got kids.
Yeah.
So that's where you have that whole thing. So that's kind of where people get complacent and they think, oh, they're in this we're creatures of comfort. If you're really into preparedness, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, practice it now so that you won't fail later.
So
set yourself up for success, not for failure.
Here's a quick question based on that. Okay. So you're saying prepare yourself so that you know your bug out time, as well as, here is the question, what is the order of preparedness in case you don't have that time? So number one thing that you need to grab or do, number two, like what are like the top few things that you would say that, hey, no matter what, if you know something's coming, get this stuff together now, start doing this now, so that even if you don't have your bug out time, you have what you emergency really need. What are your top priorities there?
Food and water, having or a way to prepare food and water. So making sure I have some kind of fire system, make sure I have some kind of purification system, something like that. Definitely those things. People don't think about this. If you have medications, grab your medications. I am medicated. I have I literally, now the cool thing is the VA has gotten so much better with their medication system now, where you can actually get an extra month's worth supply if you request.
You can get 3 months. Yeah.
But if you you get your 3 months. But if you ask, I found this out, Marie, if you ask hey, can I get 1 extra month because I'm going on a trip?
Oh, yes.
They will give you an extra month if you have a good reason. My doctor, my PCP, he's really good. He understands I live in a very rural community, and he understands like we sometimes don't get our mail because of the winter or flooding and stuff like that. So they're like, yeah, we'll give you an extra month. So really, really cool stuff like that. But grab your medication. If you have, for instance, a diabetic in your family, grab their insulin. Grab anything that's going to be life sustaining. And then like this insulin, make sure you're grabbing a way to chill it and keep it cool. So a cooler, and get some ice packs. I say this, get those snap ice packs, the ones that you break and it immediately goes cold. Get a ton of those, are cheap. Get a ton of those to keep that thing cool. But you also want to look at other means to kind of keep it cool, whether that is, you use liquid nitrogen, any of that kind of stuff. So definitely medications. Medical. Make sure you have it, because yes, injuries can happen. So making sure you have a medical kit. And I'm not talking about your first aid kit, boo-boo kit you get from Walmart. I'm talking about an actual trauma kit.
I have a whole aid bag in my vehicle. You can
I was
buy
about to say, you being a medic, you should have one.
So you can go on Amazon and you can find actually fully functional first or aid bags. And so what I ended up doing was I had an aid bag. I had some stuff from the military still. I filled that up, but I also went on and I collected even more. So I've got trauma stuff. I've got stuff for vitals. That's important. Get a blood pressure cuff, get a stethoscope.
Oximeter.
Get an O2 monitor, because those are your 3 things that you're going to need. And a thermometer, whatever thermometer you can, have that with you, because you want to know if someone has a fever, because that can be life threatening. So yes.
Or the opposite, if they're becoming hypothermic.
Yes, that as well. Yep. So yeah, I like that you're saying have an aid bag. So my husband actually asked me, he's like, hey Marie, what do I need in my vehicle? So I have created a smaller version of an aid bag in his vehicle, but he's got enough that if there's an emergency, I feel confident that I could stop the bleeding or brace somebody or something like that. And if needs be. Yes. So thank you for bringing that up.
And there's some great companies that make them out there that have them already pre-made, some are veteran owned, some are first responder owned, and they are amazing companies out there. So definitely look it up. If they have, and anybody that's listening or watching later, if you have questions, because here's the other thing, and a lot of people need to be cautious about this. There's a lot of counterfeiting stuff coming out now, like tourniquets. We're seeing tourniquets that look like real cat tourniquets with the numbers and everything on it and the serial numbers. Make sure you buy from reputable sources and make sure they're getting reputable sources.
You don't need no Temu shit then, huh? No Temu?
No. Well, even on Amazon, if a tourniquet costs less than $20, it's a knockoff. It should be $20 to $40, if not even more, if it's a really high-end tourniquet. That's what it is. Chest seals, same thing. Buy from reputable sources for chest seals. Quick Clot. Get only Quick Clot if you're not getting like combat gauze or something like that.
If you don't, hold on. Let me just say. So Quick Clot combat gauze is a material that can help stop bleeding a lot faster than yourself. So number one, I'm just going to say this right now. Okay. Pressure. Pressure is number one to stop bleeding. It doesn't matter if it hurts them, put the pressure on it. And I will tell you right now, just because this is one of my favorite things that I learned. Okay. If somebody is bleeding on their arms or their legs, get your knee into their armpit. Get your knee into their groin, and it is going to hurt.
Oh,
it's going
son
to
of
be painful.
A bitch.
You stick your knee in there, because when you have your knee in there, that stops the circulation, and you have both hands to breathe and to do the work of putting on a tourniquet and putting pressure onto the wound. So use your knee as an asset so that you have your hands, and don't panic.
Oh, you'll get my attention. Get your knee on my nuts the whole fucking time.
And that happens. And that happens, but sometimes you have to do it because that stops the artery. The biggest arteries that we have is right here and in your groin as well. So yes.
Yep.
So if you have quick clot, awesome, use that. But if you don't have quick clot, even if you have quick clot, pressure. Get a pressure gauze. So you're going to take something. You can use whatever you have, a piece of cloth or a sock or a towel or a shirt, something. You're going to push that on there and you're going to hold it as hard as you can and then tie something around it to get that pressure. If you have a tourniquet, awesome. You can make a tourniquet, but make sure it's something thick. You don't want to have a thin thing because if you have a thin, you're just going to cut the skin. You want something thick. Some people think belts work. They don't really work. Don't use a belt. Use a shirt. Grab a shirt and tie it around as tight as you can. Grab a stick. And Stephen, I want you to talk about these classes. Okay. You grab a stick and you tie the ends of the
You're giving
the
us the
shirt.
class right now.
I know. But
Shoot.
you're going to add it onto the stick and then you're going to twist, and you're going to stop the pressure. That's a homemade tourniquet. So anyways, those are just
So
a
we
couple
went from
of things that I
counterfeit
wanna
to
throw
how
in
to
there.
use it. So how, like,
So we'll definitely talk about that in the following classes. But that's the thing is, though, is like knowing how to do what we call, like what you just talked about there. Well, and it's funny, Marie, I'm military intelligence. Like, obviously, we had to learn a lot of medical because we're on our own.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that's crazy, though, for me is I've done so much medical training outside of the military now. Everybody looks at me, and when I'm doing all these classes, they're like, "Were you a combat medic?" And I'm like, "No, nowhere near it." And they were like, "What were you?" And I'm like, "I'm military intelligence." And they're like, "Bull crap." And they're like, "You've got way too much medical knowledge to be that." Like what you talked about with what we call an improvised tourniquet. That's what we call an improvised tourniquet. It's just like you can make an improvised bandage, you can make an improvised chest seal, you can make an improvised splint. Like you take two sticks. We got taught is take two sticks, put it around their legs, tape it up, or use a belt to hold it together, and you got an improvised splint. That kind of stuff it's very, very invaluable skills and knowledge in people. But that's the thing is when with those classes I suggest people go to, don't just take it one and done.
Yes,
You're not going to get your
multiple.
skills
on top.
Multiple
forget.
times.
constantly. Like
Yeah.
Stop the Bleed. It's a 2-year certification. You're only active for 2 years, just like CPR. Most like concealed carry classes and most concealed carry licenses are only active for a couple years. Idaho, it's for 5 years. Utah, it's for 5 years. I'm not sure with California. That's a whole different state.
Probably 2 years, because they probably want more money, or so it's probably less.
Probably.
Yeah,
So-
you want
so
to do
there's-
continued training over and over and over again. Because techniques change, but also, as much as I hate to say it, this isn't like riding a bicycle. Okay, because
Yeah.
there are some things that you remember. Like I do remember some basic things, but I haven't had training in years, and I don't feel confident in
A
an
lot of
emergency
times
all the
when-
time.
Yeah,
you
a lot of
want
times
to train multiple times.
Yeah, a lot of times when you don't apply what you've been trained, you do tend to forget about it. There's so many things that you learn throughout time that if you're not constantly doing it, it's really hard. Yeah, when you go to the training, you're like, oh yeah, okay, all right, that reminds me. But when the time comes, and you're panicking, your adrenaline's already on high alert, and you're already going to be forgetting things. If you're not having some kind of a muscle memory there, it's going to be, that could be the difference between someone living and dying, honestly, at that point in time, is having that little simple training.
Exactly. So staying on top of your training is very, very key and very, very important. So that's what I would definitely say. But yeah, but that's where you kind of go into that whole thing where with the time and that stuff. But definitely, yes, like we talked about food and water, or a way to prepare food and water. Definitely your aid kit, your medications, and then the last thing I would say is there's so many things. See, that's the thing is my mind's kind of like, well, there's so many. For me, I would say the next thing I would grab is some way of communications. Then after that, I would say some kind of I'm trying to think of it now. Oh, my firearm. I would want something to protect myself. And it's not just from people. It can also be from wild animals, from, rabid dogs, a raccoon can tear you up pretty bad. People don't realize, like, if it's and got rabies and stuff like that. And then the last thing is some kind of way of sheltering, whether that is a vehicle or outside, like a tent or something. But it's got to be able to house you and your family if you have a family.
I love that. So just a reminder for everybody. So order of preparedness for bucking out. We've got some form of fire starting or food preparation system. We have food and water. We have medications and ice packs if needed, or cooling system. We have the medical first aid or aid bag, communications, firearm or weapons, and some form of shelter. I love that. That is a great order of operations. And then extra stuff that you want to have with you on top of it. So that'll be like my guess would be all of the important documents, like your birth certificate, stuff like that would be another huge one to get. And then just anything else that you can think that you want to bring as well. But
yeah, definitely.
Are the top ones.
Yeah, I would definitely look at that. And then also money or anything you can use to barter.
Oh, I like that. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
I would say something to that effect too. Talking about money is sometimes and I'm not trying to say this, but there's a point in time where currency could be absolutely nothing and could turn into monopoly money. And a lot of people don't go out and invest in golds and metals and things like that, which continuously will have value. If say we did hit that life where everything just went to horrible shit, I'm almost under the assumption that money may become useless.
Null and
so
void.
Your assets and everything else will become way more valuable to you, right? And so that's
what would you
important to
guys
probably think about.
What would you guys like? And I'm asking you, Brian, as well, and Stephen, what would you guys consider as something important to bring with you as a barter system if you don't have gold and stuff like that?
I would say food, water is always going to be a necessity to people, right? And someone may need they have a lot of this, but they don't have any of this, and you have all of this, right? So at some point in time, it may be, hey, bro, like give me a pound of this, and I'll give you a pound of that type things. I imagine that food and water are probably some of the most important assets at this point in time, and obviously something to protect yourself with, like a weapon, things like that. People are going to be, there's a lot of people out here that do not have weapons that are, that will not go out and buy a weapon, but when the shit hits the fan, you're gonna want the weapon. You know what I mean? So there's going to be people out there trying to go and ask, hey man, could I buy that from you, or could I trade something for that? I mean, I imagine these kind of things all become super valuable, and money starts to just kind of lose its actual value. We all work so hard and care so much about is that dollar, right? But I think that when it push comes to shove, that dollar might be absolutely useless.
So what's your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, I would highly recommend, definitely. So yes, bartering stuff. I would not barter firearms. I would not barter ammunition.
You need them. Yeah,
you need those, but also you don't want to put a firearm into somebody's wrong hands.
Yeah,
that's going to or potentially could use it against you.
So what would you
I would not barter.
then?
I would definitely suggest yes, precious metals or precious items. So precious metals, so your silver, your gold, copper, nickel, stuff like that. Precious metals are definitely that good. I'd also look at certain things and people won't think about this, ingredients like flour, rice, sugar, salt, ingredients, but also
flavor.
Look at ingredients that can also do a dual purpose besides not just food, but also medicinal. Like for instance, cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is a great coagulant. It causes clotting. I have, no joke, I have a couple of gallons of that I hate cayenne pepper. I hate it. It tears me up pretty good. But I use it, and I will put it in little jars, and I will use that for bartering and say, hey, you can use this not only for flavor, but also if you start bleeding, you can use it as this.
Like you put it on the wound?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That because the capsaicin
it burns. They're gonna hate you, but it's gonna clot. It clots. I've actually tested out because I had somebody who was one of those herbalists, told me, oh, this will work, and I was like, And I cut my finger really bad. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. I was like, that burns and that stings, but it's weird. It was
It's like
acting
almost
as
like
only
put
the
some rubbing
coagulant.
alcohol in there, huh? Sheesh.
It's just as bad. And
Yeah.
so I was just like, you know what? It's not that bad. So definitely those are going to be your things.
Dude, I never even thought about that kind of stuff and
ingredients.
how
That's a good
valuable
thought.
those kind of things do become. Like I said, it's weird how much things that I think we take for
For granted.
You know what?
Yeah,
One
for
thing
granted. There
I
you go.
realized, coffee filters.
Oh, because you can use those for anything.
There's
You
a
can
lot of
use those for
usages for
so
that,
many
right?
things.
Wow.
Yeah.
But for a water filter.
Yep.
Yes. So you can make so that way you have cleaner water too, right?
Well, and just coffee in itself, because people will suck on that if they can't cook it. Yep.
Eating the
I'll tell you this
grinds.
much. One thing I realized this in Afghanistan, being up in the mountains out there and not having a lot of supplies, coffee is like king. You have coffee, you can buy anything.
That'll
But
probably be
also
a real
look at
good
other
trading
things.
thing to have. I got plenty of Folgers over here, guys.
Yeah. It looks like I need to go buy some beans from Cash Coffee and just have those for bartering.
Yeah, right. I got the
That's
real
awesome.
good stuff, guys. If you want it.
Yeah.
I got this hookup. So, but here's the other thing. Like, but not only that, but look at and people not only, but because we are creatures of comfort, look at other things like for bartering, like cigarettes, tobacco, because people
Oh,
are gonna want those little bit of creature comforts,
alcohol.
candy,
vitamins.
alcohol, vitamins,
Vitamins. 'Cause
candy, sugar, chocolate.
Well, when malnutrition hits, people are going to want those vitamins too. So that is
Yes.
a good idea.
Having a supply of B12 and vitamin D, vitamin C, that kind of stuff. Also, look at, and people would not believe this, great bartering, baby wipes.
Oh, I love baby wipes.
Yeah, well,
I love it.
You all know when you go out to the field how important those baby wipes become.
Yep. But you can trade a pack of those for, some food because people want to stay clean, stuff like that. So just there's a
Laundry
lot
soap
of
or soap. That's a good idea too. Yeah.
soap is a great bartering for hygiene. So soap is definitely good. And I'm not talking about the liquid soap. Get bars of soap and try to get naturally made soap. That's highly, highly recommended because it won't break down. The chemicals won't break down over time. So that is, look for bartering things to be able to work with people. And if you barter and you're able to barter with people, you're building a network too. So it's really kind of cool like that. But you can also, with your network,
probably important to get to know the people that live around you, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to know what's their strength and what their weaknesses are. And the only way that you can do that is by communicating with them, having a talk with them. Hey, have a barbecue, invite your neighbors. It's great to really get to know your community, because at some point in time, you don't know that, oh, John over here's got a whole, garden back here that we never knew about, and he can give us some tomatoes or whatever off of his, tomato tree. And then I can go give him my oranges, or whatever. So,
yeah. And not only that, like a good example right there, learning skills. Oh, he's a really good gardener. I suck. My plants die within 3 days, kind of thing. And I'm going to go to him. He's going to be that. But that's where you brought up a really great point of with building your network and that sort of stuff. Let's say I'm like me. I'm more of a let's say I'm more of a communications guy. I have a lot of radios. I have a lot of this. I have a lot of that. I can talk to everybody across the world. I have satellite communications. Blah blah blah. Well, maybe people don't need to, if I am in my network, maybe I don't need to have everything because, well, hey, John over here has all the food. And he said he's willing to even store me extra food if I'll run his communications. And then,
there's bartering right there. Once again,
exactly.
You're using not only trading your skills, right? You trade your skills for each other, not just items, but skills. I like that.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of good things with it. So, but yeah, I would say that would be then like what you brought, Maureen, your documentation. Definitely. You want to get that out of the houses or out of the area. Extra make copies. Copy while we have the opportunity. Make copies now, people. Make copies. Make copies of
least
social
I'd
security
say
cards,
bare minimum
birth
3.
certificates, driver's licenses, everything.
I like that. That is great.
And
Well, hey,
have multiple copies in multiple areas.
Well, hey, Steven, this has been like seriously fantastic. We're going to start wrapping up now, but like there has been so much information we've talked about, and we would love to have you come back on. And the reality is we still have multiple classes that we can do. You know, we've talked about doing a situational awareness class. We've talked about doing a medical class. We also need to still talk about power, transport, talk a little bit more about food and water, health and hygiene, you know, and medical. And so I think that we can, you know, have multiple of these classes, and this
This is part 1.
amazing. Yeah, this is only part 1
This is
of
part
many.
1.
Yeah.
This one.
So our part 1 series with Steven. So, but yeah, bro, definitely appreciate it, man. And we will definitely this was a nice, good overview of a lot of things. I think what we can do is get a little bit more into the weeds with each of the things and kind of concentrate on that. And we probably won't do it another 2.5 hours, but you know, we'll try to make them like it be a 30 minutes to an hour, and we'll just kind of stick on that kind of topic. That way people can start tuning in and they're like, hey, I really want to learn about stop the bleeding, or hey, I really want to learn about hunkering down, or whatever, you know, we kind of decide to focus on. But dude, I think it's important, and you know, we got to scream it out loud so everybody hears that you know, you got to take care of yourself, and then you'll be able to take care of others.
Can I
Yes.
can I ask one thing as we're getting ready to finish up? Okay. So since our listeners, you know, most of the time we talk about, you know, healing out loud, right? I want to ask, as just like a final, you know, couple minutes conversation, is how has this kind of preparedness helped you overcome your own PTSD and traumas that you've experienced? How is this helping you to maintain your own mental fortitude and
Or
you know,
isn't.
healing, or isn't, but healing, you know, being able to share it with other people? So your own preparedness and teaching it to other people, how has that kind of helped you in your own healing process?
You know what's crazy is that you asked that, Marie, because I literally just got to ask that on another podcast about how's this helping with my PTSD and my survivor's remorse and survivor's guilt and all that. And I will say this: it is huge. It has changed me. The reason is so my old unit that I was in the military. We had every unit has a motto, right? It's like, you know, you know, every, you know, like how, or has like a certain term, like, you know, like the 1st Armored Division is Old Ironsides and, you know, stuff like that. With us, it was, you know, we said knowledge is power. So with this, what I'm giving to people, what I do daily and every chance I get a chance to talk to somebody, I'm giving them knowledge so they have power. And what I could say with mine is the more I'm doing this, me learning so that I can give back, it's giving me power back in my life. That I feel like I was powerless, that this trauma was overtaking me to the point where I felt powerless and helpless. Now I have this knowledge of like, no, I am prepared. I am ready. And part of this preparedness is being mentally prepared and having mental fortitude, because the trauma, and I look at it like the trauma that I've been through, it has prepared me actually, so that when something comes down the line that is similar or worse, I can go, I've experienced this. It did not break me then. It's not going to break me now. And that's something I want people to realize with preparedness. Your trauma has prepared you. If you're still here, you did not get broken by your trauma. You are still here. You're stronger because of it, and you're better prepared because of it. And that should be that's what's really taught me, is that it has made me stronger. because yes, it is still there, but it's a reminder that I am bendable, but I'm not breakable. And and with me teaching people, I am being an advocate for that, and I am teaching people that they can be prepared so that when their sky is falling, when their world is crumbling around them, they can bend to it, but they will not break them because they will be ready for it. And that's what's helped me, and it's helped me. The other thing is, and I brought this up in the other podcast, is I've lost a lot of friends. All of us have, especially in the veteran community or the first responder community. We've lost a lot of people in our lives. I'm doing this now for their memory. So, a good example is like all my any of my firearms classes. If you come to my firearms classes, and you're my top shot, like you're the best shooter, you score the highest on your qualification, you'll get a special certification from me, but it's called the young man that I lost last year. He was one of my top shots in one of my classes. His name was Tegan Swanepoel. So it's called the Tegan Swanepoel Top Shot Award. And so I do it in his memory, and I do everything that any person that I've lost, I do this in their memory, and to not to carry on my legacy, to carry on their legacy, that they are still here, just now in memory and in purpose, not in physical.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen,
that is
once again,
fantastic.
brother, thank you so much, man. Thank you for coming on and giving us your time. And we look forward to doing this again. And we'll continue to put this out there and invite everybody out there. Once again, if you guys are watching this, this is for everybody. You do not have to be a veteran. This is for you, your family, your loved ones, your neighbors. This is for everybody, so don't be shy. Come and join us, and feel free to jump in the communications as well.
And Stephen will be monitoring the chat. Okay. And so if you have any questions for him, please add it in the chat. If you're listening after the fact, put any questions on whatever social media that you have, put out some questions. Stephen will do his best to answer, and we'll keep this communication and this conversation going. And Stephen, if somebody, go ahead.
Or even shoot us, an email saying, "Hey, I would like to hear, Stephen talk more about this, or
let
something
us know
that
what
you
topic.
want us to really kind of cover," and we'll start covering that as well, just to make sure that if there's questions that maybe Marie and I are missing, and or something that we're not catching. We hope that someone can. But we're pretty good at catching a lot of stuff and interrupting and stuff, and we could do it to each other and our guests. So.
Oh yeah, we always do it. But yeah, so ask the questions. What kind of topics do you want? Stephen, one more time, where can people find you if they want to either take one of your classes or just ask you questions personally?
So they can reach out to me through my email is venomtacticaltraining@gmail.com. They can also reach out to me through my website, which is www.venomtacticaltraining.com. It's a full functioning website. It has all my classes on there. Another thing, if people want to get some training, but they can't come to me and they want to get information out there, real simple and easy thing. I have a dedicated page on my on my web page that is called my training archive. It has all the videos that I personally have found and recommend to people when they're like, "Hey, I need some videos on medical, communications, survival, land navigation, firearms, shotguns, whatever I pretty much hit everything in there." Those are all the videos I would recommend to people to say, "Hey, if you want more information, or if you want some more in-depth information, here you go. Or if you can't reach out to me, here you go." So I have that there. I have all my classes on there, including prices, and stuff like that. If they want to know what I have classes coming up, I'm trying to add a calendar onto that right now. That's I'm working with the web designer, is trying to add a calendar to it. So it has all my class dates and times. But if you want to see any of my class dates and you're in the Idaho, Utah, Wyoming region, you can, we have classes coming up all throughout the year. We have at least one major class a year, if not multiple, or not year, a month. If not, we have multiple. But you can go on to USCCA, the United States Concealed Carry Association.com, and you can just search for Venom Tactical training, and it'll pull me up and it'll have a list of all my classes. So definitely can reach out there. I'm on social media, mainly Facebook. So if you can look me up on Facebook, Venom Tactical Techniques Training Consulting, they can reach out to me there through the direct messenger, through Messenger, and I will get back to them. But that's how they can reach out to me. And I will always take time for every individual person to give them the attention they deserve and that they need, because I don't want to be I want to be the person that when they're reaching out, that I can be there to help them and support them. Or if I can't get the answer for them, I will find them the advocacy that they need, whether it's through the networks I have or through the resources I have. I will find them the answers they need.
Awesome.
Outstanding. Well, thanks again, Stephen. And once again, we will be seeing you again and look forward to it. Have an amazing day, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Be safe out there and just be vigilant.
Thank you, Stephen.
Well, that was amazing. And that was awesome. And I hope everybody else, you got something out of that. We will be continuing this, and we will be going a little bit more into the details to some of the parts he covered. This was more of like a broad overview. I know that we did kind of get in the weeds in some of it, but we will kind of hone it down into, a topic that we'll cover. And then that show will be dedicated to that topic. So we'll spend like 30, 45 minutes on that. And that way, you guys, I know that some of you guys have a hard time watching past 3 minutes, let alone maybe a minute. So, 2.5 hours is a long time. I get it. But once again, we thank everybody for supporting our show. Is there anything you want to say, Marie, before we head on out?
No, this has just been fantastic. I'm grateful to have Stephen, come on, and thank you for being an awesome co-host. And as always, if anybody wants to listen to more episodes, go to sliderbabe.com to get the link tree, and you can go on there and sign up to be a guest if you like. We are booked out until January, February timeframe, so we have some amazing guests, coming up. But yes, so just check us out. Share if you have a story that you want to get out, but you aren't comfortable with telling it, or if you don't want to wait until January, February to tell your story, send us an email, marie@sliderbabe.com, or at Brian's, what is it? 3 every day.
We'll just keep you in it because you were way better with email than me.
Okay. So send me an email, marie@sliderbabe.com, and we will read your story for you and give you that voice out there. So please, veterans, active duty, family
all
members,
stories are good
first
stories.
Responders, advocates, yes, your story, again, I will say this. I've said this. I've said this on the show before, but the biggest thing that I have heard when I invite people on the podcast is when they say, "Oh, my story is not that important. Oh, I don't have a good story." Your story is important because it is yours. It is important to you, and it will help at least one person. And half of the time, that one person will be you and one other person, So share your story, talk to us, come heal out loud, join our show. Share us how you are going from PTSD to advocacy. Stephen is a great, amazing example of he's using his trauma to build his own tools and training and techniques to be able to share it with other people. So know that your trauma can become an asset if you learn how to heal out loud and find ways to move forward in advocacy. So thank you guys so much for being here. We love you guys, and this is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And once again, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.